My name is Anthony Singh, and I'm the CEO of NextGen Conferences. Uh, Before we start the session, on behalf of NextGen Conferences, I would like to thank each one of you, being a speaker, being a panelist, and also I would also like to thank our partners, presenting partner Huawei, gold sponsor STL, gold sponsor GX Group, and our supporting partner FTTH Council Asia Pacific. Uh, I would like to special thank Mr. Martin Vanderberg, the ambassador of India to India, Nepal, and Bhutan. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hear your inputs on this platform. It's really honor to us, and I would also like to hear some kind of good presentation of the current challenges and future inputs, future directions, what needs to be done by the industry to, provide smoothless services to the end customer through this. So now I will hand over this session to, since we are already late for 5-10 minutes. Let's not waste any time, and I will hand over this session to Kiran sir, who will take this session through. All right, Kiran sir, over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone. Welcome to the second annual India Congress 2021, a new COVID normal that we are going to go through this year. So welcome to everyone. Now I would like to invite Martin Van de Berg, who is going to give a keynote speaker, open the session. Martin, please start your session.
Well, thank you so much, and it's really a pleasure and an honor to join. And I think this virtual meeting really illustrates how important digital connectivity is and how important fiber to the home is. And I think, what you see, I think on the one hand, COVID is really a challenging time for all of us, for everyone. At the same time, I think it's a great accelerator for our digital society, our digital economy. So I think, to connect each other through digital connectivity is more relevant and more important than ever. So on the one hand, I think you will see a huge potential. And on the other hand, I think we have to be very cautious that we don't create a kind of a digital divide in our society, that it's really the digital development is really an inclusive development. I think India and the Netherlands, they are both very strong partners in terms of trade, in terms of science, technologies, in terms of investment. So we are very happy also that also GX International is looking for opportunities and possibilities to open factories here in India. We are very much supportive in Dutch companies coming to India to invest in India, also very much relating to the Made in India policy. And I think it's, if you look to the connections between the Netherlands and India, you see already a very strong connection in trade and investment already for hundreds of years. A lot of Dutch companies based in India already for a very long time, but also the other way around. A lot of Indian companies based in the Netherlands. So it is really a two-way street. And the more Dutch companies we can get over to India, I think the better it is. For me, investment is a better connection than trade. So we very much support Dutch investors, not only by our embassy, by our network, but also financially. And also, as I understood, the GX International is looking for a risk capital from the DGF, GGF, a Dutch public fund to support companies to invest overseas. And it would be very good to see the investment also from GX International here in India. So happy to be here. Looking forward for a wonderful discussion. Hopefully lots of success for GX International here in India, and wherever we can support them, happy to do so with our network. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for giving a heads up to us and the relation, strengthening up the relation between India and Dutch, and especially the public funding, availability of the public funding for the companies in India. So really exciting, and we hope for that 2021 will be more exciting compared to 2020. Thank you for your keynote speaking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And now I would like to welcome Dheeraj Sharma, Senior VP, Leader, Technology and Automation, Access, FTTX Engineering Enterprises, Reliance Geo. Dheeraj, you can present if you have any slides or you want to speak anything, you're free to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran, and thanks for this opportunity and pleasure to be here. And I don't have any slides, but I think we'll take 10 minutes maybe. And I take you back 1 year back, I think, again in this conference. And I just want to see what we have progressed in the last 1 year with respect to India. And that's the things I will try to take next 10 minutes. So last discussion, last conference, I think it was more of a discussion. How do we uh, pick up the momentum with respect to India in terms of the FTTH deployment, FTTH rollout? What are the roadblocks are there? And I think during this COVID situation in the last 1 year, so I think it's a mix of the things, experiences we have. The most critical has been the time, 2 to 3 months time of the lockdown period, where I think the teams have been able to maintain or assure the customers. So whatever the working customers are there, they are maintained, they are connected, and their services remain uninterrupted. I think that has been one of the challenge, and the people have successfully met, and that's the area where I'll try to cover and how the things are happening and where we are trying to move to the next generation of operation. Providing a FTTH connectivity is just not the end game. That's where the actual activity starts, because customer experience is not the high bandwidth. Customer experience is when they remain connected with a stable bandwidth, with a stable connectivity, with all the applications working, because all the applications sitting on the cloud, and they are having their experience with respect to their devices, their applications, and their in-home coverage and connectivity. I think that's the next stage of the challenge, which is there ahead of us. And how do we now bring the entire focus? Bringing the fiber is the one which now everyone understands, and I think there is no doubt in that. We don't need to convince everyone whether we need to take a fiber or we need to replace the copper. I think those are the time. I think we have surpassed that era, and everyone knows there is no other alternative but to put the fiber, and that is being done also. I think the momentum is picking up, and when I try to see the in India pre-COVID and post-COVID, pre-COVID we used to having a lot of resistance sometimes in the buildings and on the resident side, because the people were not so sensitive. But I think post-COVID, I think that issue is also getting resolved, and local bodies are also have started now seeing okay, this is the one very critical infrastructure is the government as well as the local bodies. So I think the issues which are we have been facing in the private permissions and the public permissions in terms of ROW, slowly I think this is getting managed better. And the ecosystem in the industry, whether it's a LCO or whether it's a small players which are there, I think people have now understood this is not a small game. It's a much bigger game in terms of the capex, in terms of the opex, and in terms of the the, the collaboration framework, which is with the content providers, with the service providers, and everyone now try to see how they work together so that they are able to see the much bigger picture than only seeing the a few million connection with respect to India. And also, this FTTH is no more a requirement of the only a large city or the metros. People now seek, it has to be largely, it has to be covered entire geography, entire length and breadth of the country. And I am sure, next 2 3 years we will see these things reaching to maybe every towns and every cities of the country, maybe 1,500 towns, and progressively even going to the rural part of the country also. There also things are now moving much faster than the before. So when I see the challenges, I think the challenges are being overcome, and now we are seeing a good rollout which is happening with all the operators in India, and also here. And we are able to see now whatever the base ecosystem we wanted to put up in terms of the application, services, infrastructure, automation, things are in place, and things are now slowly moving a much bigger numbers month by month. Even during the COVID situation, also we are able to see nothing has come down, but it is ramping up exponentially month by month, and whatever the speed what we used to see the countries like China and other large country picked up in terms of the millions of home pass per month. I think India is also going to match that numbers, which couple of years back we thought it is not possible, or it is impossible to match that number. But I think with all the people, all the I'm saying all the operators and the teams work together. See how do we manage that challenges with respect to India, and taking the advantage of the experience of the other countries, and also seeing what works better for India. And I think the people have successfully adopted that model of a combination of Asia and Europe and America, and what makes sense, what makes affordable for the country. And I think now we are seeing that things are ramping up and things are affordable for the country. And because of the mass deployment, it has to be affordable. So it is able to match the expectation of the customers in terms of the price expectation. It is able to match the requirements of all the services and products at such a lower cost, and I think and the volumes. So three things which is the key challenge for the FTTH. I think now India is able to see a good transition to that ramp up scale up program in the FTTH, and it started happening. And I don't see now the 2 3 years back what we used to be more of a theoretical, now it is becoming a reality on the ground, and it's no more on the slides. So that's why we don't need much of the slides on that area. How do we roll out and what are the rollout bottlenecks are there? It is happening now, and we are seeing what happens. And I believe now with this the post-COVID, considering the requirement and now everybody see the necessity of this requirement of FTTH. So and it is going to be good for the industry. It is going to be good for the customer. And with that, I think we don't see much challenges now in terms of rollout challenges. And now the challenges shift to the more from the deployment to the operations and also the customer experience. These are two areas are there where I think the most of the focus and most of the now the operators are going to focus on. So one stream is the deployment stream, and second stream is how do we stabilize the operation? How do we ensure that our OPEX is reduced? Because if we continue to having a larger OPEX, then it's not going to be affordable. It's not going to be easy, and also if the customer experience is not good, then also it is going to be difficult for the people to survive, and other competing technologies like 5G and all is coming up. So, so our experience in the last 1 year, and where the maximum time we have spent, because it's requirement of the government is no more whether we can maintain with a double nine, 99 or anything less than that. So requirement is coming to 99.9. The uptime which used to be assured or commitment given to the enterprises, that requirement is going to be now available or required from the homes, because every home is now a small medium enterprise because people are working from homes, having a home, people are having everything whatever we are doing is from home. So the availability of the services, if the broadband is down on a particular day, know what is the how the life becomes horrible on a particular day. And when the everyone in the family having a need, whether it's a school or it's a office or it's a any other anyone the entertainment, so all the requirements are also posing a lot of challenges in terms of the okay, how do we maintain 99.9 instead of 99. That's a big challenge is there, and it requires a big change in the telco especially, and I am sure the other players also. So it is no more a telco game, and it is more of a where we now faster we move to the big data, AI, ML, and those principles in the operations, and the faster we are able to ensure that this type of requirements are met. So, so where we have been pushing and the envelope and putting the maximum of the time, and I'm saying in my individual capacity and also as an organization also. So where we are able to seek the productivity and efficiency is the most critical because of the each and every truck roll for the operation and service issues. And if you go to the customer end, then I think it's difficult to manage. Then the 24 by 7 operations, whether you are having a festival, whether you are having a Diwali, you are having a Christmas, or you are having a New Year, everything required 24 by 7. It's like a enterprise grade network. It's not a home grade network. So it's not more of FTTH. So it's a is a fiber, but fiber to the, I would say it's more of an enterprise grade than the home grade availability. And then we see a challenge, because when we go with such a large number, and for FTTH or the customer experience where all the services are being delivered from this network, then it requires a different skill set at a deployment level, skill set at operation level, and skill set at a customer handling level. The person whom we want to pay a very low end entrant in the industry, the person who starts his career, and we want him to meet all the expectation of the customer, the person who is facing the customer, and we expect him to meet all the customer requirement, whether it's a Wi-Fi issue, whether it's a OTT issue, whether it's a set-top box issue, is a connectivity issue, is fiber issue, and we believe that person is a god, and then he will be able to meet all the requirements because he's at the customer end. And if there is a problem, how effectively he can manage, because he's having a very limited skill set, but he has to maintain and the entire uptime of not the network but the services, and he also has to manage the aspirations and the experience of the customer. He has to satisfy the customer, and if he's not able to satisfy the customer, because he's the face to the customer, and if it goes multiple times, then also is a problem, and if he doesn't know what is the issue in the behind, then also is a problem. So whatever is happening in the background in the network, whether it's a passive active services, entire chaining of the services and all the cloud services, and how do we enable them with all the things with the right tools, and also enable him the lot of intelligence which is coming from the big data and AI ML, and that's the critical need of this industry. And I think last 2 3 years, a lot of activities are happening in this area, which was not the case earlier. But now it is no more a necessity but a requirement. And then also the things which are coming as a challenge, and where we are all of us are working, is how do we transition to this framework, because there is a infrastructure where we have everything inventory in the systems, but how do we ensure that everything is moved to the microservices, then only we can use the AIML. How do we ensure we are this journey to the digital platform? How do we ensure we having a complete insights available of the customer, whether it's required to the uses or his billing or his problems, tickets, or what are the issues are coming up. And unless and until we are having a 360-degree view of the customer, and not only as a FTTH network, but all the things which are around the network and all the services, applications, his bad experience, good experience, user experience, billing experience, all these things, and enable this journey. So the next generation operation and next generation customer experience, not only the home experience, whatever we connect on this network, and also the added opportunity coming with the 5G. When the 5G is coming up, the 5G is not going to resolve all the radio issues in indoor issues, but indoor is the one which is going to be always on the Wi-Fi, whether it's a Wi-Fi 5 or Wi-Fi 6, and for that again the FTTH connectivity to those locations is becoming critical. And then if that is the infrastructure on this FTTH, we are going to write the 5G indoor and 5 and Wi-Fi, and that is the one going to take care of the indoor coverage and everything. So this infrastructure operations and uptime is going to be very very critical. So uh, that is the, I think, the takeaway from the last discussion was more of a deployment challenge, and this discussion, I think I want to, at least from my side, I say next time when we meet in this congress, in this conference, then I think we take up how efficiently we have managed not only the deployment, also the customer experience, in addition to the deployment and the other requirements coming from the enterprise and 5G. So just the key input from my side, and if there are any questions at this stage, I'm happy to take those questions. Otherwise,
Yes, sir, we will have a detailed discussion post presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Direjji. Thank you very much for giving a very broad, very open, eye-opener speech. Indeed, we really appreciate that Geo is putting customer experience is on top priority. And this is what the operators or the service providers should adapt. Yes, you are absolutely right that what bandwidth you are giving doesn't really matter, but whether the bandwidth is stable or not matters. whether all applications are working or not matters. You are absolutely right, and we really appreciate that you're representing from Geo, definitely putting the fiber not like just a home fiber, enterprise fiber, treating the home fiber also enterprise fiber is really appreciable. Thank you so much for giving very good insights, and we will have question and answer session. There, we will discuss more about the other issues. Thank you once again.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Amit Singh, ISP Vertical, Head of ISP Vertical, EBG, Hawaii, India. We can't hear you, Amit Singh. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Amit, we can't hear you.
No, we can't hear you. Let's do one thing. Let's switch over to the next speaker. Meanwhile, Amit sorts the issue out.
Right.
Yep. So I would like to now invite Mr. Parishot Prajapati, Group CEO, GX Group, to give insights. Or you got any slides to present? We would like to welcome you to give the speech.
Just sharing the slides. Is it viewable? A short slide.
No, we can't see the slides. Amit, you need to do any
Amit,
setting?
no, Mr. Paritosh, you need to share your screen.
Okay.
There is an option called share screen.
Yeah. I'm doing that. Now?
Not yet.
It's not functioning. Anyhow, good morning, everybody. And just as an introduction and a keynote speaking here for the call. Thanks, Kiran, and thanks, Anjani, for hosting this. I think we're seeing evolution happening all over the world, not only in India. And in India, it's remarkable. People saying that things are changing due to the pandemic situation. I think what we see right now is something that was aimed to happen. Connectivity and broadband connection was something that was aimed to happen in India. The thing is that pandemic has just given it a little bit kick. Looking at the figures, looking at how well connected India is compared to any other country, it's far behind. Not only India, Asia Pacific itself. 2019, it was 83% of the fiber to the home connected homes was done in Asia, which shows that Asia is picking up extremely fast. And that's due to the need we see in terms of how people are communicating. And now people are realizing it. Even in India, people are realizing that without the communication network, you cannot more or less survive. It's a necessity. And you need it for your daily work. You need it for communicating, especially now when education comes into picture. Education is a vital part of Indian society, in the Indian families, and part of a life, which means now we're getting into crucial services. And before it was more entertainment. Entertainment, you had the subsidiary solution, you had cable TV, you have dish TVs. But along with education, we see a big kick into the market. And we see a need, we see a demand increasing. I can just give you an example what happened in Europe where connectivity came into play, what kind of role it played in the coming future. We've seen, for example, in Sweden, where I'm based in, government subsidized PC in 1990. They created infrastructure, a very low bandwidth speed and dial-up connections, but at least they gave the opportunity for the community, a younger generation, to get connected. And that resulting now in 2020, Sweden is one of the world-class innovative country, taking a top position in development, in IT infrastructure, digitalization. And one of the main reason is that the people who were in the 1990s, even myself, we got connected. We were enabled with digital equipments at that time. And that created entrepreneurs, that created digital infrastructure, digital workforce. And that's what we are seeing in India now. People are getting digitalized, people are getting adapted to data, bandwidth. So the speed is required right now. And what we'll see in the coming time is a mass scale of digital workforce coming out from there. Entrepreneurs, freelancers, not only from tier one cities, we see it from tier two, tier three cities in India also. And looking at the deployment, the last couple of 7, 8 months, we have seen a major scale in outskirts, rural areas. So the digital divide in the country is now getting flattened out. Yeah, there's still a lot of things to do, but we see now that they are picking up. They see the need that we are outside the digital society, because the society is not anything that normal anymore. We need to go digital to get connected, be available, especially in a democratic country like India. If you want to make your speech heard, you need to go digital nowadays. Uh, Especially with the pandemic situation, it's pushing it forward more in a digital society. We see rural areas, which is 70% of the market, is the difficult market. That's the market which needs to be connected for the mass scale to be part of the digital society. Connectivity on those areas, last mile has always been a difficulty, but we see LCOs who has played an extremely big role, MSOs, ISP during this pandemic situation, working in lockdown position, helping the consumer get connected without their help in this situation. So it's a big thanks to all of this ecosystem built up in India during this time, helping the society. People don't just see it that they are doing one kind of work by connecting, creating business, but if you take other angle of it, they're actually creating something, doing something for the consumer. Just imagine a home today who looking for a broadband connection but cannot get it. Education is lost. Work from home is lost. Entertainment is lost, along with getting connected with your families and relatives. So it's a big part of our life nowadays, which is getting important, more important than any time before. The service is available in tier one cities, but when it comes to outskirts cities, it has not been available. Where we see LCO now adapting to these services, MSO adapting to these services. They see the cable TV draining down now. People are more going into OTT platform. People want to be on demand services. They're ready to pay for services. That was not there before, because the necessity is getting more important, means that you're ready for pay for the services. The more it's impacting your life, people are opening up for getting the services. So the trend is clear. I think it's around 200 million homes in India. Out of 200 million homes, 87 million homes have cable, a television at home. This is the segment that in the first phase will be connected with broadband. We're talking about a mass scale you cannot see anywhere in the world, which means there needs to be an ecosystem which is now building up very fast, along with support from government, connecting black fiber all over, operators like Geo, Airtel, supporting on that level, and along with fiber cable manufacturers supporting building up the infrastructure. So the whole ecosystem is actually built up, along with players like us who is creating products needed to be connected on each side of the home, understanding the market, creating product which the consumer need, and also having a vision of building everything locally in India, because that's will be vital. Because normally you see it, you need to have a scale, and that scale is coming up in India now. So all the system surrounding, all the incubators, along with the big ISPs, is now playing a role to do this and enable India for a digital India. So we see that the market is now accepting that we will need it, and as Dheeraj also mentioned, the ramp up is already started. So it's not that the ecosystem needs to be built up. The country has enabled it, the people, and along with the ground people who are deploying it, adapting to these facilities now. My side.
Nice, Paritosh. I really appreciated your views. You're absolutely right. To build a true digital society, you need to include the rural areas. Without rural areas, rural communities, there is no true digital society. We really appreciate giving insights about this, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now I would like to welcome back Mr. Amit Singh, head of ISP Vertical EBG Huawei.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, it's clear, Amit ji.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome all the participants for this virtual platform. I think we all understand 2020 has made a big impact on our life. I think post pandemic, we can see the way we do the business, the way we interact with the individual are going to be changed. Say, for example, post pandemic era, probably everyone is trying to minimize the human contact or trying to do a less physical contact. And we all understand if we have to achieve this, a strong connectivity is a basic need. Just to give you a small example, now if we go to a hotel, in room we don't get the physical menu. We can scan the barcode and the menu is on your phone. So for such kind of services, okay, the connectivity is the basic need or basic requirement that we all understand. And we all understand that connectivity is not only important, it has to be stable and scalable, keeping in mind the future requirement. So what I think today, we all are here on this virtual platform to discuss and to share our experience, how we can build up a more
हो जाएगा।
robust,
मुझे टेक ए ब्रेक करना है या एंड सेशन करना है? पक्का ना?
stable and scalable
तो मैसेज नहीं
network.
पहुंचना चाहिए।
Network.
पक्का ना? देख लो।
I I
ठीक है।
think somebody needs to
I
mute their
think
mic.
you're not on mute. Sorry
Yeah,
about that, Amit ji.
yeah, no problem. So I think we all understand we need to create a more robust, stable, and scalable network so that ultimately we are able to deliver a high and or high quality services to our customer, and ultimately that will lead to the the growth of the digital economy, or I can say that might lead to the intention of the government where they are aiming for the digital economic growth. Uh, Coming to my presentation part, I have prepared a small presentation,
Yes,
which
please. You
I
can go to the
yeah,
slides.
which I would like to share with the participant. And my presentation is visible.
Yes, it's visible. You can
Yeah,
put it in a
yeah,
presentation. Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
So my presentation has a three part. I have made a brief presentation. Okay. On the first part, I would like to update our participant about some of the latest facts and figure about Huawei. Some of participants might be aware about Huawei. On a second part, I would like to share, how we see that the ISP industry is evolving or growing. And on the last part, I would like to share and discuss that how the different player of tree more robust and more mature and make it more growing in the coming times. So just to give you a brief overview about Huawei is a global company based out of Shenzhen, and we have a employee strength of more than 194K worldwide. One of the major strength of Huawei lies in the R&D. So if you see this figure, almost 50% of our strength is in the R&D, so which differentiate us from the market. Huawei pays a lot of importance in developing or coming up with a new innovative product as per the local market need. So we are able to do this because of the strong R&D what we have built up in the last 25 or 30 years. Even in India, Huawei has the largest R&D which is outside China is in India, which is in Bangalore, where we have a employee strength of more than 4,000 people sitting on the R&D side. If you look at our global Fortune ranking, we stand at 49. So 9 years back, Huawei was not in the Fortune 500 list. In 2011, we were not in the Fortune 500. We made the entry in Fortune 500 in 2012. And in the less than 9 years, we are standing at this position, which also indicates that the kind of growth that Huawei was able to achieve in this industry. I will share that in 2011 and 12, when Huawei saw that telecom market is maturing or we are not seeing much growth in that segment, Huawei diversified their business at that time. We came into the enterprise segment, we came into the consumer segment. That really helped Huawei to grow beyond the telecom. So today, Huawei is not only limited to telecom. We are doing a business in enterprise segment. We are doing a good business in consumer segment also. If you see a revenue of a Huawei is able to maintain the constant growth year on year. So approximately last year we did around $121 billion worldwide. Now, if I give you the breakup of this number, still the 40 or 45% of our revenue is coming from the telecom segment, and around 40% revenue is coming from the consumer segment, and rest revenue is coming from the enterprise segment. As I have mentioned in my first slide, that Huawei pays or focus give more importance to the R&D. So from this graph, you can see from the time we have started or we Huawei came into the picture, we are able to come up with a new product. We are able to come up with a new solutions as per the market need. So if you see, like, in 2009, that is a time when Huawei thought of coming into the smartphone or the consumer segment. Now, in the just 9 year or 10-year time span, we are able to come amongst the top three smartphone vendor worldwide as per the shipment. Even if I talk about the new technology like Wi-Fi 6, we were able to deploy first commercial Wi-Fi 6 in 2018. Even in India, we deployed a Wi-Fi 6 in 2019 end. So, and we keep coming up with a new product. As you can see that, we were the first one to come up with a 7nm chip, which are in our smartphone. Now we all understand that the ISP or the service provider has to play a key role in digital economy. What I believe that the strong connectivity or a robust network in the form of FTTH will act as a catalyst for the digital economy. Now the service provider are not just providing the broadband or connectivity, they are going much beyond the connectivity. They are providing multiple applications, they are providing cloud services, they are providing OTT services. But yes, for all those services, for all those applications, backbone or the connectivity is the basic need. If we see, worldwide, we have almost half of the population is connected through the internet, and in China, there are more than 4.49 million applications. and outside China, approximately 5 million applications which are active and getting used by the customers. Even in terms of the broadband speed, we can understand that 4 5 years back, probably 2 Mbps or 5 Mbps used to be a big number, but now the 100 Mbps, 200 Mbps is becoming the norms in the market. Same time as the technology is changing, ISPs are also trying to adopt with the new technology, or trying to basically adopt those new technologies so that they can uh, meet the new market requirement or new market demands. Say, for example, 5 years back, when it comes to the access network, the service provider used to deploy the multiple technologies, whether it's EOC, DOCSIS, EPON, or vFiber or G.fast. But today, most of the service provider or this industry understand that FTTH is a future-proof technology, and if we have to basically give a good experience to our end customer, probably we need to take our fiber till the home so that they have the seamless experience. This is further getting pushed up because of the kind of the demand which we see in the market for the content. Probably the lockdown has further pushed such kind of demand from the end users. Like 2 3 years back, we were not seeing much web series on the OTT platform, or movies on the OTT platform. But now we can see many web series or movies are getting basically released on the OTT platform, and end users are getting used to such kind of services. So to have or to basically experience such kind of services, service provider needs to provide a stable connectivity to the end user so that they don't get any buffering or any latency in their network. If I share with you about the FTTH market, probably in my opinion, the FTTH market will now grow at a much faster rate. As per estimate, FTTH market is going to be around $8.3 billion worldwide. But probably what I think, after the lockdown, this number can be bit on the higher side. If I talk about the Indian market, in India we have approximately 23 million wireline subscriber. Out of this, approximately 3 millions are connected through the FTTH. So still, majority of the customers are connected on a coaxial or a copper connectivity. So which also indicates that those customers, those enterprise need to be migrated towards the fiber connectivity, keeping in mind the future demand. Also, if we compare the broadband basically data with the global data, uh, in India per 100 subscriber is 7.6, which is much lower as compared to the, even if we compare with the developing countries. So, which means that still the broadband in India has not reached to the each and every corner. Still, it is limited to the large metros or big cities. Still, it has to go to the tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and villages if we need to achieve the objective of the digital economy or a digital revolution. Even if we compare the broadband speed, even though the services are quite competitive or cheap in India, but when it comes to the speed, the broadband wireline speed in India is approximately 38 Mbps, whereas the global standard is approximately almost double. It is 78 Mbps uh, uh, wireline speed as per the global standards. So what I'm trying to say here that in India still there is a huge scope and huge space of improvement when it comes to the last mile connectivity. Still, many cities, many tier two places, many villages needs to be connected so that seamless services can be provided. Now, what kind of a challenges majorly the ISPs are facing here in Indian market? As per our understanding, one of the major challenges for the ISP is to deliver a stable bandwidth and a high-end bandwidth where the demand keeps on changing every day, regularly, I can say. Another challenge is a latency. Still, because of last mile connectivity is not on the completely on the fiber, there are latency sometimes they face in their network, and then definitely the end user experience, which depends upon the first two factor. Especially if I talk about the data center player, for them the major challenge is to construct the data center at a very fast pace so that they can start getting the return from their investment. Another issue for the data center players are how they can save the power, because the power consumptions are a major concerns for the data center player. If I talk about the OTT player, like OTT service provider, now they are looking for AI capability on the OTT applications. Say for example, if we search some movie on any OTT platform, so next time when we go, the platform should able to recommend or suggest the movie based on our basically taste or our preferences. So those kind of capability or those kind of features OTT players are looking in their applications. Then computing is another major concerns for them. If we remember during the lockdown, some of the OTT player they reduced their video quality because they were having the high demand of the content. So to basically manage the traffic on their server, they reduce the content quality from HD to SD. So such kind of problem OTT players will face or they are facing. So they need to see how those challenges can be addressed, especially on the peak hour time when there are multiple concurrent users are logging to their servers. Now, many of these challenges can be, worked on if we create the end-to-end fiber network. We understand that today at the backbone end, at the aggregation end, most of the service provider they have the fiber, but on the access end still we are upgrading our network. We are moving our network from copper, from coaxial to the fiber. So the moment we are able to make a end-to-end fiber or optical network, probably we will able to work on the latency. We will able to give a better experience to the end customer. Now, another important factor is the policies, the government policies, which also plays a quite important role in the growth and the development of this industry. So just to give you a little bit of idea outside India, like in Europe, there was some Digital Europe 2020 where they were planning to, or they were doing to upgrade their network so that the network supports the Digital Europe objective. On the same line, if we understand that in India also, the government has launched the National Digital Communication Policy, where they have very clearly mention the guideline that they aim to achieve certain milestone in the next like 3 to 4 years. Say for example, they say that every individual should get a minimum 50% connectivity. Second, they have put the guidelines that each SMB or educational institute should get minimum 100 Mbps connectivity. They have initiated to connect all the villages or gram panchayat through fiber by giving a minimum 1 Gbps connectivity by 2020, and then this connectivity should be upgraded to 10 Gbps by 2022. As if now, as per my understanding, they have already connected more than 1.5 lakh villages across the India, and probably rest of the villages will also get connected in the next 1 year. Similarly, they also aim to provide 50% of their wireline connectivity in the next 3 to 4 years. Currently, if I talk or if I share, out of the 300 million household, what is estimated in it, only 23 million is connected through the wireline. So, to achieve such kind of a number where the government is aiming to have a wireline connectivity for the 50% of the household, the government cannot do alone. All the private players, all the other MSOs, ISPs, telcos, they will have to play the key role to achieve such kind of numbers. Now, if I share about how or what Huawei is doing in this particular market, Huawei is continuously coming up with new innovations in form of technology, in form of product, which indicates from some of our credentials or some of our this market share. If I talk about the broadband access, we are having almost like 37% market share worldwide. If I talk about PON market, we are having almost 42% market share worldwide. On 10G PON, which is still at an initial stage in Indian market, but outside India, especially on like China or Singapore, Hong Kong, it is getting deployed. In this particular market, we are having almost 53% market share. On ONT side, we are having almost 38% market share worldwide. These are some of our credentials, which indicates that Huawei keeps, contributing to different forums. Like say, for example, we are the winner of GSM award for our outstanding contribution to the mobile industry. Similarly, when it comes to the brand value, Huawei has been always recognized or featured in a different third-party brand value report. In terms of the employer reputation, also Huawei has been always preferred by different third parties agencies. So, saying this, what we are trying to say here that Huawei is quite committed and focused when it comes to this particular ISP industry. We are serving almost all the top service provider in Indian market. If I talk about the global figures, we have helped more than 1,000 plus ISPs to transform their network so that they are able to deliver the stable and scalable services to their enterprise customers.
Amitji, I'm sorry to disturb you. We are actually running out of time.
I'm just done with my presentation. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you very much.
So I think this was my last slide only.
Yeah.
So that's all from my side. I think at the end of the all presentation, I think we have a Q&A session. So I would be happy to take some of the query from the audience. And I once again thank you all for basically listening and sharing your valuable time with me. Thank you all.
Sure. Thanks for a detailed presentation, Amit. Thanks for taking time and giving a detailed overview of the who are we, and its contribution in the Indian market. Thank you for that. So, rest of the speakers and panelists, please apologize us for moving into directly panel session now. So will not be able to accommodate your sessions at the moment since we have very less time. So, once again, apologies for moving into directly into panel session. So, everyone, now let's move into panel session. So, this will be a kind of a question and answer session. So, the first question it goes to Dheeraj Sharma from Geo. Dheeraj, you there?
Yes, yes, Kiran, I'm there.
Thank you. So the first question is, Dheeraj, for you. The India being a mix of copper, fiber, and cable technologies, cable networks, and on one side MSOs and the cable operators are upgrading their cable networks. On the other side, coppers are getting more and more advanced technologies. In such situations, what do you think? What do you see? How making a fiber to the home market as a successful market? Do you think will there be any challenges from these technologies, or fiber to the home? How it would go in the future, making it successful?
Uh, right, Kiran. Kiran, I think working very closely with one of the large cable sites because the Dan Hack and GTPL, they are also uh, some are associated with the Geo. And what we see, and also seeing the competitors' numbers also on the copper as well as on the fiber side. So I think we are seeing a very declining numbers on at least on the broadband side in India, which are being delivered on copper. And the customer which were there on the copper maybe 2 years back, and if we say month by month, how many customers are on copper, they are declining. So people are not, at least in India, because copper is aging, and any copper which is getting problematic, it is getting replaced with a fiber, and all the new expansion is coming on the fiber. And customers also now demanding, okay, I don't require copper, I require only fiber. So I don't see any new deployment happening on the copper, zero, and as well as the most of the people are now replacing the copper with a fiber, and unless and until there is some business issue, otherwise they are replacing it. And the moment they go into area with a fiber, they are slowly discarding the copper because it is not practical and it is not operationally efficient to maintain the two networks in the same building or same area, and it is not means from a business support point of view, from a customer support point of view, and all the from everything, even from a network operation point of view, it is not practical. So people are slowly phasing out, and cable operators are also have stopped doing any investment. I would say major investment over the last couple of years in any of the cable expansion or even replacing the cables. And if they are putting in the broadband, they are putting on the all the fiber networks only. Nobody is putting any, even the cat 5, everyone is putting on the fiber. So it's just a matter of time, and it's exponentially is decreasing. So I would say not even 10 years, maybe in couple of years, 2 3 years, 5 years, I think we will not see any copper and cable on the ground. And with the OTT coming up, and satellite challenge anyhow is there with the cable operator, they understand they will not be able to have any other future unless until they have the broadband and they support the OTT. The satellite operators are challenged because of the OTT, and cable operators are further challenged because of the satellite as well as the OTT challenge. So I think slowly we are going to see the phasing out of this. And in an interim, people are saying, because at least in India, nobody is putting any investment on the DOCSIS, because the cost per customer, at least for Indian market, if they put on the DOCSIS versus they put on the fiber, they think the fiber is cheaper. The cost per customer, thanks to the vendors community, the cost of the equipment has come down drastically. The cost of fiber is anyhow. Himanshu is there from Starlight. The cost of fiber is come down drastically. So there is no incentive for them, anyone, to even upgrade the network to support the either a vectoring or this DOCSIS, at least for India. So maybe the other places where the infrastructure cost is very very high, so they still continue to do some upgrade for a couple of years. But in India, I think now the DOCSIS and vectoring has almost negligible relevance because nobody is investing in that area.
Just
Thank
one
you very
input.
much, Dheeraj. Thanks for your insights. Yes,
Yeah, just one input. I agree with you. That's the reason has been the cost for fiber availability, but speed has pushed it a lot. We've seen that people has been afraid, especially in the LCO side. People have been afraid of going into fiber connectivity because they see it as a complex solution, a technology moving from a cable-based solution where you tie up cables with hands. Now you're going into a system where you need to splice, you need to put fiber in the ground, which and also technology where you need engineering background, you need some level of computer knowledge, and that we have seen India is adapting faster than any other. People on the ground, people who've been working on deploying things, has been adapting to handling computers, configuring, setting up equipment, and that's opening up, along with the speed demand in the market, a trend that they see no option because first of all cost and then the speed need.
that's great. Great to know that, Parshot, from you, those insights. Thank you very much for that. So, the next question goes to Himansh. Himansh, you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
So, just your perspective. You are very active in India and some global markets. So, especially in context of India, you look at the bit rates per subscriber have exponentially increased in last 5 years. For example, let's say 10 times growth in last 5 years. What do you think the average bit rate per household subscriber would be in coming future? Let's say next 5 years. And what do you think, in a cable perspective, the fiber to the home technology deployment should look like?
Yeah, Kiran, this is very interesting question. Rather than hazarding a kind of a guess for next 5 year, I'd like to take it like a race between application and infrastructure. If I go back say 5 year behind, the application was restricted in terms of like how much infrastructure is available and what can be supported on a given infrastructure. That used to be a kind of a concern in those days, and that's why it was always lagging with respect to infrastructure. That but Fiber has changed it all. Like now application developers are I'll say are feeling liberated in modern world. The way things are coming up, I'll say a lot of applications which were not feasible in earlier days, especially latency sensitive applications like real time gaming, multi-party location conference on a kind of a holograms and all. These are tactile internets. These are something which is going to change the way, or say globally, people interact with each other. So these applications and every day new versions and new applications are coming up which will require a very robust infrastructure. So fiber practically, as different speaker in panel, they spoke about that how equipment is enabling all those speed, like starting from GPON to XGPON to XGS-PON, and now globally NG-PON 2 is getting deployed. So capacity is a given today in terms of fixed fiber infrastructure, and application is going to drive so if you specifically, if you ask me to predict, probably I see that today 100 mbps is a given. Every household wants 100 mbps. uh, 5 year down the line, I think that new 100 mbps will reach 1 gbps. And there before this call I was having interaction with Paritosh regarding like why point to point deployment is happening today in Sweden. So expectation is that say 10 year down the line, such demand can go even to the level of terabits per second at every household. So that kind of demand we are expecting, and this is a very exponential curve. Year on year we will witness that how it is moving. Today itself I was seeing like a advertisement sheet from one of the ISPs. They have mentioned that 100 mbps is the like a low selling kind of a bandwidth in FTTH. Now they are offering 150 mbps and 2 mbps on a FTTH connection, and they are actually raising this bar every year. So that is one thing on infrastructure. But having said this, it is very important to look at infrastructure from future perspective. Like capacity creation is a kind of ongoing activity. Now we have virtualized gears and software defined everything. Upgrade will be relatively smoother, just you have to change the optics at the equipment end. But infrastructure is going to be created for next 20 years. So very important point is that how you create or how you design your infrastructure, how you dimension that infrastructure, that is going to play a very critical role in terms of supporting future needs of the country. One important aspect which probably I'll also add here, that FTTH is one of the like a subset, micro subset of overall large ecosystem, which is FTTX. And the major driver is going to be a like point to point applications, especially disaggregation of the radio network which is happening, virtualization, when you have CU, DU and RUs are getting disaggregated, and every layer needs either abundant fiber to support transport, or you have to have a like a huge number of fiber to support dark fiber interface. So this is a new consideration we need to look at from that planning perspective, that whatever is going in the network, when we are spending 70% of the capex for service and ROW, and hardly 20 to 30% goes in actual fiber and cable. uh, we need to be very mindful that what is the right count and what is the right dimensioning of the cable that has to happen in terms of designing. So first stage of deployment will be that right design of the network with decent size fiber to support at least a decade of requirement for the future. Second thing is that rural and urban divide. Like I see it a kind of though we have started doing BharatNet and a different kind of program, but fiber reach is still very at a very nascent stage. India has a total road network of more than 5 million kilometers, whereas we have total covered road in India is not even say 1 million kilometer. We call aggregated 2 million route kilometer, but there are a lot of overlap for different operators. So a journey from 1 million kilometer to a near say 5 million kilometer is a huge journey, but that has to be covered in very short span of time. And that's why true digitally inclusive country will evolve when we are able to gap that 4 million kilometer or route kilometer of the requirement in shortest possible time. And that's why it becomes very challenging for all of us, like say government, private entity, operators, ISPs, MSOs, LCOs, and people like us who are enabling this entire infrastructure space to come up with different kind of solutions, strategy and technology to support this kind of things. So to me it sounds that future is very exciting in terms of infrastructure requirement, but equally challenging. If we really want to move to next level of say digital revolution, we need to do a lot of work in terms of planning and deployment of fiber network.
Very nice to know that. Very good insights from Imanji. Thank you very much for your insights. Next question goes to Raif. Raif, you there? Raif, can you hear? Raif, you are on mute. Okay, that's fine. So we have a few questions from our audience. So this is an open question to any panelist. The first question is, when is 10 GPON planned for India by any operator?
I can give some input on that. 10G PON is on the discussion, and many operators in Europe is now evaluating putting in 10G PON because going from point to point, 10G PON is a next step. Point to point, people have been realized is too costly. A distributed network is per user more cheaper, and they can use that as a backhaul also for mobile backhaul. We see trends
Kiran sir,
on
let's
bigger
take the
ISP.
questions later. Meanwhile, I think Raf has some technical issues, so you can go for another speaker, another panelist for next session, next question.
Okay, no worries. Let's finish this and then we'll wrap up. Please go ahead, Paritosh.
Yeah, so that's what we're seeing in the market. That bigger operators, yes, they see a trend, they see a need because they have mobile backhauls. Big
Yeah, Mr.
ISPs
Paritosh,
do even.
can you listen us? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go to
Yeah.
Sanjay call now.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank-
Go ahead. We cover it up later.
Sure. Thank you very much for your insights, Partosh. And
Yeah.
thanks all panelists and speakers for spending your
No,
time
no,
and
no.
giving very good insights for our audience.
Kiran sir, let's go to Sanjay call for next question.
Oh, sorry, Sanjay call. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Truly
That's a
honored,
communication
guys.
gap we still see in the broadband era. So, Sanjay call, the next question to you. Can you throw some light around future FTTX or PON technologies or any innovations of PON technologies, or especially the from vendor perspective or operator perspective in terms of XZ PON or XGS PON, NG PON, something like that?
All right. Thank you. Look, I'm a little bit outsider to this industry. I'm advising Paratosh and his company on their board. I'm president for Cisco Asia Pacific in Japan, so I'll give you my perspective, which is a little bit broader on service provider side and how
Sure.
FTTH industry is becoming really relevant. Look, we had a world of where the fixed broadband and the mobile broadband kind of stood on their own merit. And clearly in India, fixed broadband is not moved at a speed we all would like to, right? So as was alluded by a couple of speakers, fiber penetration in the country has not reached the levels it should. We are somewhere around 20 to 23%. So So when I fast forward, given what we have seen in the COVID, where there is a clear shift to digitization, in our opinion, the fast track to digital has been the biggest. While COVID was not good, it was pretty challenging, but it clearly has pushed the digitization. I would say many miles ahead, right? So, and that's a good news for you for FTTH industry because you will be front and center of how the future should look like. So so I believe while India was still called mobile first, and mobile was the one that penetrated the country down to rural, what Paritosh was alluding to earlier. I believe wireless cannot survive without wireline. Uh, Given the needs and the demands of the bandwidth that have emerged, I'll give you a few stats. So that is pretty astonishing. Cisco does what we call VNI report. We do a prediction on a 5-year traffic where it's headed, internet traffic, mobile broadband traffic, and so on. 5 years back, the world was at 3.7 exabytes. Today in 2021 exabytes traffic. Now come to India. India alone is 4 exabytes today, and our belief is in next 5 years as India enters 5G, this is going to go fourfold. So that meaning one third of world's traffic bandwidth needs will emerge from this part of the world. So what that means is then, I am predicting a couple of years ahead that somewhere the FTTH and 5G technologies have to converge to give the needed bandwidth and the user experience and the quality of service to the masses. And when the two technologies converge, you are going to bring 60 between. We've drawn some 12 scenarios which predict that the net savings of OPEX and CAPEX to mobile operators will be in the tone of 60 to 90%. So the good news I'm trying to give you is the industry has enablement to make the entire telecom industry threefold, fourfold efficient. Uh, so I think we saw the role of FTTH in the fixed cable. What I believe is, if you predict next 10 years, you have a tremendous role to play. Fiber optic backbone, because as 5G proliferates, we're seeing that the fiber connection needs to be at 100 meter to the user who's truly using the 5G high bandwidth services. So honestly, it's a brilliant news for you guys, the industry, and of course, what is needed is that you bring in the innovation, the automation, you bring in efficiency in terms of deploying these technologies, you bring in virtualization and cloud technologies into the mix to serve the need, because need is so big that you all together, this industry all together, will not cope to meet it. So I think that's my 2 cents, an outside-in view to all of you guys.
Thank you very much, Sanjay ji. Thank you very much for your insights. And really, yes, you're absolutely right. Innovation and the automation is going to help the industry to make more faster bandwidth and stable connectivity. Thank you very much. And the next question goes to Raif. Raif, you're there? Can you hear us? You're on mute.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Thank you. You're back.
Apology, but
Raif,
yeah, sorry, apology.
to
The
you.
technical problem is that I cannot understand Kiran at all, while I can understand the rest of you. So that's very annoying.
Oh,
But so if you have a
I'm
question,
really
maybe
sorry
someone
about
else can
that.
pass it through to me.
So I'm really sorry, Raif. So the next question goes to you. We know ComSoft is really introducing a very popular software, the Fiber Plan IT, really very good software. So in terms of the ComSoft, how you see the India fiber to the home market? Are there any innovations or any automation that ComSoft is planning to support India fiber to the home rollout to make it more faster? Any innovations, any ideas, anything you would like to throw to help the Indian fiber to the home rollout market would be really appreciated.
So yeah, so I couldn't understand the question. So if someone could maybe briefly summarize, or well, maybe first of all, let me shortly introduce also myself. I'm Raf Meersman.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of ComSoft. We are a company based in Belgium, specialized in the development of software for auto design of fiber networks. And I'm also since last year a member of the board of the FTTH Council Europe. And we've been active worldwide with the support of fiber rollouts in Europe, in North America, and also in India, actually, where we work closely together with Jio on the auto design of the fiber networks and the fiber plants. And so I'm very pleased to be able to make part of the panel, despite the bit of technical problems I'm suffering. So I don't know if you want me to talk about the 5G convergence or things. If someone can maybe give me an indication what you would like.
Yes, please. Yes, you can speak about 5G convergence with a fiber.
So, Raf, what he was trying to say, that do you have any automation or something new, innovative, that can make FTTH rollout faster in India? And also, you are requested, if you are interested, you can talk about your 5G convergence also. I
Okay,
think
very good.
it's clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, very clear. It's very strange that I simply cannot completely understand Kiran, but I can understand you completely. So yes, in terms of innovations to speed up the deployments. I think it's a very interesting time in terms of fiber deployments, of course, because yeah, we really see the global trend of fiber becoming a necessity, a real utility. It's no longer a nice to have; it's really a need to have. It's something that everybody needs, especially with speeding up from the COVID situation. But in order to, and that's what we see globally in the market, in a lot of countries and a lot of areas, that there is an increased speed because people really all realize the importance of this good connection. Um, but with that, one of the challenges is, for example, also when you want to deploy at a higher scale, is the necessary skilled people. So yeah, the faster you want to roll out, you'll need good people to plan and design your network, to build your network. And this is a big challenge that we see. And well, we, with our software, try to automate a lot of the process so that with the same skilled group of people, you could actually deliver a higher amount of fiber design. But for example, one of the other interesting innovations is something that we are doing together with Deutsche Telekom in Germany, where we are preparing to also speed up the design work in Germany. And one of the interesting things that is very innovative there is that we are using 3D LiDAR data. So there are trucks driving through the streets with cameras on, and through artificial intelligence, we can automatically interpret the images so that we can recognize where there are poles, where there are exactly building entries, where there are streets or trees, which could be an obstacle for the network. So we can actually automatically identify the environment in which we want to deploy the fiber, and that can be served as input data for our calculations of an automated design. And that is really, yeah, very interesting result showing out of that. But of course, there's also a lot of innovations on the equipment side. There's a lot of things going into higher fiber counts, going into smaller cables, which is again crucial to deploy a lot of fiber. And which brings me to the last point I would like to raise, that is indeed also linked to the 5G evolutions. So 5G is also coming, and 5G is needing a lot of fiber in the backhaul as well. More than ever, this wireless connection or wireless network cannot work without the fiber backhaul. And this also means that you need to investigate how much fiber you want to roll out today in one shot in order to make it clear or ready for the future. Because also it's our responsibility as an industry to build this network that should last for decades. And this is very important that we do that in a way that we can actually consider those future needs, for example, also from 5G, and make sure that we build the fiber network one time good for the long term, that it has the sufficient capacity. And in that perspective, there's a lot of information. We made a study. I can't go into all the details, but if people are interested, they can certainly reach out to me or check the FTTH Council website for results on the value of convergence between fiber for 5G and fiber for fiber to the home.
Yeah. So, Rap, maybe I can add a point to what you said. I think absolutely right what you said. I was earlier saying that we've drawn some models, looking 5 years ahead, what 5G will bring to the industry, and clearly we see, given the frequencies that are getting chosen around the world for 5G, there's going to be 100-fold increase in number of base stations, and every base station needs to be connected to fiber optics if you have to give the quality of service that 5G demands, right? So I think that is a multifold increase in the FTTH and the related technologies. So that's what I said. This industry, I mean, most of you that are on the call here are at the cusp of a big revolution. Hence innovation, adaptabilization, bringing cloud in the mix should be the name of the game from an innovation perspective for all of you.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
you are absolutely bang on. And considering this FTTH 5G convergence, I think I and even Raf, we have been discussing almost last 3 years, so that whatever we are building up in the last 3 years, it is 5G ready. So I think those
Yeah,
requirements are coming up now. I think starting ahead of time is really critical because you cannot put the fiber again and again.
absolutely. No, I think Dheeraj, Geo has been a role model, and I mean we have a long history. Cisco and Geo worked from day one to build what you created. So yeah, I think it will come handy for you. What you produced will come handy in a 5G context.
Thank you very much for giving good insights about this, Raif. And Sanjay, touching base on the 5G, and Dheerajji, thank you very much for giving 5G convergence with fixed broadband. So we got a very interesting question from our audience. The question is, with Amazon and SpaceX testing and working on satellite internet, will this bring FTTH out of the scope in the future?
Maybe I can start. I'm sure people have opinion on this question. It's a pretty look. If we're talking about India, there is a lot to be done. I believe personally. I think mobile will be a mainstream technology, followed by fiber and fixed technologies, and satellite, SpaceX. All of them have a role to play because to cover the places where these two technologies cannot reach. So it will be a niche technology. It will not be a mainstream technology, but it has a role to play.
It's a
Yes.
little bit on areas where you don't have connectivities. And if you see India, India is a mass populated country, density per square meter is quite high, and one of the highest in the world, which means it doesn't make sense to provide satellites. Of course, there will be a need where outskirt, unconnected areas you have, but there are countries which are
Yeah. Kiran sir, let's
less
go to Mr. Farooq Imtiaz because he has to leave for Juma prayer, being a Friday today.
Sure, no worries. Yep. Our apologies once again for
Yeah,
disturbing you.
come on.
Yeah, Fark, the next question directly coming to you. In your view, how digital transformation technologies like IoT, AL, ML, AR, VR, anything, something, those digital technologies would help in FTTH deployment, rollouts, speeding up, fastering up, or managing the networks? How do you think these technologies will actually complement the rollouts or network management? Any views, any ideas would help our audience to learn
Okay,
more.
thank you, Kiran. I think you can hear me. Okay,
Yes.
so in my view, the growth, the digitization that has happened due to pandemic in Bangladesh over here. So maybe what we were guessing that it will happen maybe in next 4 to 5 years happened in last year because people were forced to choose those sort of technology and doing home office, doing homeschooling, those sort of things. People were forced to take the fixed broadband connectivity. So the ISP who are operating in Bangladesh, the penetration was less than 2%, whereas the mobile penetration was more than 87%. So in those scenario, within a year, the penetration went more than 10%. So the growth the ISP industry had in last year was really amazing. And as an infrastructure provider in Bangladesh, we provide infrastructure transport solution, both ISP and the telecom operators. We have seen the growth in the telecom operators in offering the internet bandwidth, but the connectivity part didn't increase. Number of site rollout and the other things, which were almost stagnant because the foreign import and the other things were halted. But the ISP, they were getting the new connections like anything. So even just after 5 or 7 days of the lockdown, we found that the connectivity solution, the infrastructure service has been declared as an emergency service. Earlier, only the law enforcement agencies, the government agencies, and the WASA, electricity, those sort of connectivities were marked as the emergency services. So they were allowed to move out and work. We were not. But within 5 days of the lockdown, we have our industry was declared as an emergency service, and we were allowed to go out during the pandemic wearing the special kind of clothes and do the connectivity to the homes, because people are over there doing their financial transaction, doing their office, doing their schooling and other things. So that has changed the total scene. And the connectivity requirement, other than the internet, people are thinking that yes, there are opportunity, and you MFS service and the other things which were running, the app developers, those sort of things are booming now. So the IoT or the digitization of those platforms. So now people are thinking of doing business from home, not taking as usual office and doing those sort of things or showrooms. So those sort of things are being triggered in the industry. And now people can understand, okay, from home they can do business, they can do the schooling or something like that, they can do their entrepreneurship or even the regular office from here. So those sort of things are triggering the new and new ideas. So the youth, the entrepreneurs, they're trying to utilize the scenario and trying to make sure that the technology is used at its best, so that they can meet the necessity of the people, the latent need, which is not even the people don't know they have the need, but the revolution is making sure that, okay, like the iPhone, nobody was understanding there is a phone required for that with a touch phone. There will be no button on it. But this was Steve Jobs who thought of it. And now the youth, they are thinking of something new, which can be beneficial to the society, and they are offering it, and the industry is taking it. So those sort of IoT, the network virtualization, the segmentation, those sort of things that we are thinking of, the 5G will be bringing to the industry. So earlier we were talking about what is more than bandwidth in 5G, but now people are thinking, okay, 5G is not about bandwidth. So there are more service to be offered. So if you need bandwidth with a more additional spectrum, you can offer it through 4G. 5G is something different. So now these things are being realized in the society. So this sort of digitalization platform definitely will be needing additional connectivity and additional bandwidth, which might not be possible using through the wireless technology. And the FTTH that we are talking about, those sort of fiberization will give a huge amount of bandwidth to any individual connectivity that can be ensured, and they can enjoy entertainment, office, and any other thing. At present, the government that is being doing, we are only planning with the development part of the country. So the urbanization already has happened. But like the Gram Panchayat connectivity that some of the other speaker was talking about, so Bangladesh government has taken the digitalization platform in such a level that all the unions here will be connected with a fiber optic connectivity with at least minimum 1 Gbps connectivity, the rural areas. And there they're setting up the digital centers where the all digital platform service can be availed those who don't have their smartphone or laptop at their home. So any kind of government tendering, government service availing, you can use those sort of centers. So people are getting aware of the opportunities being created by the government. And in the urban areas, the government has taken the beautification projects, because as we are now homes with overhead fibers, each and individual is making a overhead fiber and making it a mess. So government has given the active sharing guideline for the infrastructure solution providers to give the connectivity through underground cable or a limited number of overhead cable which is not visible in the main roads, to get the all household enterprises connected through fiber. And that will be definitely requiring the FTTH solution with the GPON or the 10 GPON for a higher bandwidth connectivity. So I think in Bangladesh, the rollout of the FTTH with PON technology will be massive in next 1 to 2 years. So the operators with the fiber cable, operators who are involved in the manufacturing of the GPON products will find a very big market in Bangladesh. And unfortunately, the ISP, they were maintaining their individual GPON products and offering the ONU to the clients. So now whatever challenge we are finding as the infrastructure provider, they want to reuse the existing ONUs because they have already invested in that. So the solutions we are trying to bring into the country, the OLTs, there has to be an interoperability with the old ONU boxes of the ISPs. So this is the current challenge we are facing, and doing the fiberization to underground or overhead in a way in the country. So those sort of technology advancement, along with the new technology innovations happening in the industry, along with 5G, IoT, is going to change the way we think and change the way the servicing is being offered to the people. So that's all from my side. I think I have made it clear to you.
Thank you very much. It's really very clear to us, and thanks for giving very good insights to us, our audience as well, Mr.
Uh,
Fakrudi.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Kiran, I would like to add briefly about the question you asked about the application of digital tools and technology in enabling ecosystem. So
Sure.
I'd like to share like India needs a kind of a million resource to serve the kind of requirement we expect in near future. Similarly, I understand that Bangladesh and many developing countries will have similar kind of technician requirements. So as you mentioned that AR/VR kind of solutions are going to help in a big way in de-scaling this kind of deployment, where a lot of support from central location can be extended to new technician to deploy. So that is one area we have done like a successful pilot, and we are adopting things. Second thing, Raf touched about like a use of lidar technology to plan at least create a land base which can automate. So similarly, for a very large project in India, a rural broadband project, we used a drone to map geography and convert it in a digital map where we utilize all those digital tools to automate entire design. So lot of the point which I'm trying to make is that lot of application like all these AI, ML, image analytics, computer vision, AR, VR, everything is available as a platform. We need to work on a use case which actually expedite and automate lot of processes to address the scale of humongous scale of deployment. That is the need of our that I feel that is very important.
It's great to add a touch points about that, Mr. Himansh. Thank you very much for that insight as well. The next question goes to Parishod Prajapati. So, what are your views on FTTH adoption for mobile backhauls? At the same time, how do you see FTTH rollouts would support other industries? Let's say smart cities, smart homes, something like that.
We see now FTTH, as we discussed before, also and is was touched upon before, that connectivity and speed is getting more important. Same thing with smart cities, smart buildings is getting into discussion in all new apartments, no new real estate building, enterprise building, because of efficiency and security. So along with that, you need to have a core equipment, which is the FTTH, along with the requirements on high-end IoT equipment, which is blowing out in the market now. One good information for people in the audience and the speakers could be that every second, 127 IoT devices are connected today, which is a huge amount of data which is coming into the network every second. This is a remarkable figure if we see it, but it's a figure that is growing steadily, which means the amount of bandwidth, amount of data which is loaded on the network is increasing. Which means the mobile operator who wants to use a backhaul, will need to be also offloading on the FTTH network, especially going into 5G, where Sanjay and the audience also discussed a little bit about fiber connectivity onto the small cells, which needed to be connected on the 5G network. There is not sufficient bandwidth or fiber laid out specifically for a 5G network. It needs to be coexist. And the two technology complement each other. You have the FTTH, which is a backhaul, and also a high load, high density solution. And then you have 5G, which is a latency solution, low latency solution to support machine to machine sensors, IoT equipments. So both those together build up one ecosystem. And looking how we see the deployment happening right now, outskirt, it is all about reachability, which means the mobile operators will, in certain areas, need to be connected. We see AT&T, Verizon, TeliaSonera, one of the big innovative operators globally, are also using GPON as a backhaul and slowly moving into 10G PON to support their bandwidths. So more on that side, that bandwidth is required. But if we looked at the FTTH side, India is still on EPON level, a major mass scale market. And so the next step of evolution is going toward GPON. We see the scale coming up. We see the affordability, which will also enable areas to get connected and help operators to build towers to use it as a mobile backhaul. And looking at smart cities, as I mentioned before, building optimization is getting important. Operational expenses needs to be reduced. A lot of services, automatic building services, sensors in the apartment, cameras all over. All these require FTTH. So all are connected somehow, building on a base. Everything is more or less IP based nowadays. In the past, we've seen people are using different kind of technologies for different services. That trend is out of the market right now. People are using equipment which is enabling IP services. So that's opening up the market for more need of bandwidth.
That's great to know, Parashot. Thank you very much for your insights. The next question goes to Amit Singh. Amit Singh,
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah. Can you talk about where the ISP industry is heading in terms of implementing FTTH services in India, and what is the best possible way forward in terms of providing seamless services to the end customer?
Okay. See, if you see the ISP industry in last 5 years, where many of the panelists they talk that in future the FTTH is a technology. So in past these service provider they were deploying like DOCSIS or a vectoring or EPON or EOC. Now in the last 5 years, this industry they have realized and they have understood that FTTH is a way forward for them if they have to deliver the stable and high-end services for the enterprise or for the retail customer. And further, this requirement has been fueled, or I will say, got pushed because of the lockdown. During the lockdown, we have all seen that the kind of content demand which is getting generated from the end user, that is further pushing the service provider to make their last mile connectivity more stable, more robust, and which they all understand it can be done through the fiber. This is one. Apart from this, okay, slowly and slowly in Indian market, as the penetration of the fiber is still less, we see more and more, MSOs, LCOs, they are coming into the picture and they are trying to extend their reach in a small cities where probably we were not present 2 or 3 years back. So today we can see there is a different kind of ecosystem that is getting created in the Indian market. Probably 3 4 years back, most of the service provider they were talking that they wanted to have a direct customer or they wanted to have a direct customer base. But now, to expand their reach and to make the rollout faster, they are adopting a business model where they are trying to basically engage or onboard the LCOs or MSO so that they can provide the last mile connectivity to the end user in terms of the fiber. This further help them to basically optimize or reduce their investment also. What we have seen that in such kind of business model, LCOs or MSO, probably they are doing the investment on the last mile connectivity, which is a fiber. So as a team, they are able to extend those kind of connectivity to the market, and we see that those kind of business model is getting more mature in coming times. Yeah.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you very much for your very good insights.
So,
Let's move on to the
Kiran sir, I'll just disturb you. I think we are running very late, so I think we can take quick one or two questions from the audience, then we can conclude the session.
Sure. I think we have already taken a few questions from audience, but I would like to take one last question from audience. Very interesting question, I guess. The question is, it's open to the panelist. Even for the ISPs who provide end-to-end FTTH connectivity in the metros, the bigger challenge for really delivering is 100 plus Mbps speeds come from the Wi-Fi routers and access points and client device ecosystem. How do you see this evolving in the next 2 to 3 years? Open to any panelist, please.
Yes, I can jump in here. There's a lot of discussions here about XGS-PON, 10G-PON, Wi-Fi, speed of network, 100 Mbps. If I just give example of developed countries like Sweden or any country in Europe, yes, we're providing 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps speed to homes with fiber-based solution, but the actual need is up to 10 Mbps. So speed is not the issue. It's an issue of stability and reliability of network. And when it comes to connectivity at home, we will see evolution happening in home, not in technology itself, because technology today on GPON level, even in India, as I said before, also the mass scale is still on EPON. So the technology trend has now moved to GPON due to the bandwidth demand. And that bandwidth demand is sufficient. Up to 10 Mbps is sufficient if you have a real reliable and stable connection. So next phase is connecting homes and enable homes with the right speed. So if you have the right routers or the functionalities in your products in home, which could provide the bandwidth. So if you get a speed of 10 Mbps, how can you ensure you get 10 Mbps in each and every corner in the home? Going from a single band connectivity unit going to dual band, and then now technology moving into Wi-Fi 6. So it's more on that trend we will see emerging, enabling homes to get connected to the high level of speed. And we will see the coming 5 years more stabilizing the network, ensuring stability, reliability of the network to ensure the homes get connected, because in the homes you can provide any router or any functionality to ensure that the speed you're buying or purchasing from your local ISPs are actually spread around in the houses.
Yeah, and if I
Thank
can
you for
just jump in here,
question.
if I can just jump in here, I'm actually currently
Yeah,
on a connection that has
you are on mute, right?
Raf, I think you are mute. You need to unmute yourself.
okay,
Can't
sorry.
hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, indeed. I just wanted to jump in briefly to say I'm actually currently on a connection that has 500 megabits per second download and 150 megabits per second upload speed, and yet the experience is not good because I'm facing some kind of other, I don't know what, technical problem, so that I can't understand some people in the panel. So I fully agree that the connection and the pipe is one thing, and I think we know how to do that, but the end-to-end experience, including how it's been brought to the end device and the end user, is also something not to be neglected. That is part of the end-to-end experience.
Yep. Thank you very much for giving very good insights, and thanks to all the speakers. Before we close up this session, I would like to take 1 minute from FTTH Council Asia Pacific. We are Singapore-based Asia Pacific Council. We are the council connecting to the industry. So we bring best practices connecting to the industry, and we been supporting the some of the operators and the vendors in India. So we are here to support for to bring any adapt any best practices for rollout of the fiber to the home or advanced technologies, new era G technologies that FTTH Council will always extend its support. That's all from our side, and thanks to all panelists for spending your sense of very good insights, giving a very good insights and giving very open ideas. Let's hope for that the India FTTH market would see very good rise in 2021 despite of COVID challenges. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you so much, Kiran sir. It was a very great, insightful session, including all the panelists, including you. We had some kind of very good international speaker, including the ambassador from Netherlands. Unfortunately, he has to left. He has to leave. And on behalf of the company, NextGen Conferences, I would like to thank each one of you, including Himanshu sir, Dheeraj Sharma, Paritosh Prajapati, and Raf Misharman, Amit Singh, and Sanjay Kaul. Thank you so much. And hopefully, once this pandemic this get over, we will meet physically next year in 2022. Right?
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Thank you.
A good day.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
He is the Director General of GOI, Hemant Chabra from Huawei, Yuval Kishore Sharma from 1TT Broadband, and we will also have Mr. Rajesh Patak from Accident and uh, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. So, Safi, it's over to you. Let's start the session.
Okay, thank you, Anjani. Let's start our session. So, welcome everyone to the FTTH India Congress 2021. I'm Rusafi Alam, manager of FTTH Council Asia Pacific, welcoming you all to the second session of today's event, named Fixed Wireless Convergence and Fiber Planning for 5G Networks. So, I have four gentlemen with me. Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kothar, Director General of COAI, and then Mr. Hitesh Chabra, CTO of Huawei, and then Mr. Yugal Kishore Sharma, CEO of One OTT Entertainment, and Rajesh Patak, Country Director, India and SAR. Hi.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Dr. Coach, and good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you, Hitesh.
Yeah, it's long time. I think
I had some video problems, so sorry about the delay.
Anjani, I believe Rusufi's connection is lost. So with India coming up, I think Bangladesh, I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done on FTTH. Rusufi, I think we can see you. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, so I think everyone heard my question. If anyone missed my question, just raise your hand so that I can repeat it again. Hello, Anjani, can you hear me? And all the other
Yeah,
speakers?
Rusufi, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think Mr. Yugal, let's start the discussion by your side. I hope you heard my question. If you haven't, just let me know so that I
No,
can.
you had got disconnected. You were yeah.
Okay, so my question was, let's talk about where the telco world is heading in terms of implementing FTTH services in India, and what is the best possible way forward in terms of providing seamless services to the end customer?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest question that the industry is witnessing at this stage. Uh, Been in telecom for almost 2.5 decades, we have seen our country evolve through the three waves, right? And it all
Mm-hmm.
started with paging for a little while, because by then the two-way communication, mobile communication was already a big reality, so which hit India a little late. So we saw the evolution of 2G, 2.5, then came the 3G, and of course the 4G, right? And that's how India got its voice and its I would say data problem to an extent sorted, and and uh, and then the world witnessed a phenomena just like the world is broken into two halves of before Christ and after Christ. Similarly, it is like before Corona and after Corona. So similarly, the world came to a situation where uh, it was felt for fixed line networks even earlier, but due to Indian telecom, companies busy in mobility, trying to connect the country, every nook and corner, get the mobile voice, upgrade the mobile voice right up to 4G. Somewhere fixed line networks were their second priority. They did make effort. I think some of our current telcos did make a valiant of effort. However, the capex and the kind of overall cost that was required to acquire a subscriber and was humongous. So it was in the backseat always for all the telecom companies. uh, Come our big brother, who opened up the mobile market in 2002, once again in 2016, has uh, demonstrated uh, uh, a large focus of theirs to do a fixed line broadband network. As we see, until 4G came into India, after the spectrum was announced, it took us 6 years or so to start building the ecosystem, right? And similarly, I believe, and of course, the telcos have always led, and of course, we all know the largest players with the long-term vision of building scale capacity at scale did that for mobile 4G and mobile internet 4G, of course, most relevant in terms of building the capacity. Similarly, now ecosystem for 4G, I'm sure Hitesh here and some of my other industry fellow colleagues, from the equipment side, are seeing that what was earlier a fiber to home rollout today has become a reality, right? So I would say that the telecoms have uh, played the role of opening up the market. Now it has come to their attention to roll out fixed line broadband. As I said, the after Corona period, which we witnessed for the last 3 quarters, I think internet consumption has gone over 2x in the home. We all are attending from different parts of our country or even continent. Like I can see Rusafi from Bangladesh. We are all at home and stuff like that, and we have experienced that the telecom companies, government telecom companies, and we all forget the part of the industry that I represent, the MSO ISPs, right? I would like to speak a little bit on that because
Yeah.
India has by and large 250 million homes. 250 million
Mm-hmm.
homes, 180 to 190 million homes are already connected by a coax cable for cable TV, right? So wire is there. There is a way the wire reaches the home to about 180, 190 million homes. And surprisingly, if I asked anyone here, which is the largest private player who has the fixed line broadband market share, of course, government, we know BSNL, MTNL put together has always been leading this, but today it is at -7% churn on year basis because they are still on their DSL copper plant. People are finding, especially in the metros and big cities, to migrate towards fiber, right? So if you look at the ISPs who are from the MSO side, which is where So our company being a group company of the Hinduja Group, we have been the pioneers of starting cable TV. Way back almost 3 decades, and we brought the cable TV vertical into the country as in cable, and that's how the concept of LCO, which we used to call the cable wala, is
Yeah.
actually the last mile owner. And I'm proud to share that we brought the concept of last mile owner because these are the LMOs who are having their coax wire in every home in the vicinity that they serve, and the same LMO has also brought in whatever the Indian terminology in every section we know the jugaad, which is actually the innovation. They have evolved to bring the internet also, right? So I'm very confident and I'm very positive that the journey of fixed line broadband uh, will leapfrog now completely on fiber to home, and that's where uh, that's where that's where we are poised at this moment. People have kind of got ready with fixing their little bit problems here and there, and aiming at providing a robust connectivity. We all will see from all these panel discussions, and I've been attending several of them like the others, all of us, and life has not stopped. Especially for companies in telecom, the second wave of telecom has now evolved, where we are connecting just like the other, I would say, corona warriors in the country, the telecom warriors who have enabled the country to move on like a lifeline, and hence the MSOISP vertical that I belong to, as I asked the question, serves the highest number of homes. You all will be surprised. It's not the telecoms.
Yeah.
Telecoms, government telecoms, yes. BSNL, MTNL has got about 42% market share. Second largest is all the LMOs put together from MSOISPs, which is more than one third. Government and the private telecoms, the currently two or three telecom companies that are there, they put together have only one fourth, right? And this is I'm talking about overall market share of fixed line. If you further slice and dice it into fiber to home, it further even gets worse because government telcos is almost zero. So 66% every second connection on fiber to home, by and large, would be given by an MSO ISP. And of course, telcos have just started, and I think the large telecom company has, like Geo has gone forth and looking at this market and aggressively working towards putting in the fiber to home, what do you call services. Last point from my side, which I think can give a complete food for thought. I did visualize, and I've been part of this telecom for almost 2.5 decades. Uh, the fiber to the home, I replaced the F with future to the home because as we heard in the earlier discussion, there are like 127 IoT devices per second in one of the panel discussions I was hearing.
Yeah.
So that's the future. It'll be a smart connected home, and the way corona has demonstrated globally, not only India phenomena, globally adaptation of technology, and I feel so I would say content inside because I also started Polycom, which was a video collaboration company, as the first employee in South Asia Pacific region from 2003 to 2009, and that's the time we had 128 kbps, 256 on ISDN mostly, and it was like a concept cell. It was you had to manage IT teams in your large enterprises to do a video call. Today kids are doing online on their own. I see my 5-year-old son does an online class. He knows everything on the iPad, what to do, what not to do. Doctors are consulting. So technology adaptation, because of life after corona, has leapfrogged the world by minimum 10 years.
Yeah.
If you see what would have happened after 10 years has happened today, and that's what I think has led to the ambitious requirement for rolling out fiber to home networks faster than ever before. And our honorable prime minister, announced from the Red Fort on this Independence Day that the government is ambitiously looking to connect the 6 lakh villages on fiber. So look at the need, look at the massive plan that's going on. So I'm very bullish. This is one wire which exactly will be just like the roads that we built to the smallest village 30, 40 years back. Similarly, this is the highway that is coming up, which will carry all the services of e-governance and other things in our life, and it'll happen much faster than what we anticipated earlier. So that's my overall thought on how the telecoms are evolving, and I would like to share that when we say in fixed line broadband, it's not telecoms, it's telecom and MSO because we already have the wire in 180 million homes. Nobody can put a wire in 180 million homes in the next 10 to 15 years, right? We just have to upsell. We have a customer there, and that's what we are busy in by upgrading our existing cable TV customer by giving them a robust broadband connectivity. And that's where we will play a major role in the digital inclusion of the country. So that's what my initial thoughts are. My colleague also, Sanjeev Agrawal, has joined. Yeah, over to you, Rusafi.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yugal. Very insightful contribution to for setting the floor for this session. So I think that was really interesting. So I'd request Dr. Kochar to add something to this question, and later on we will move to other speakers. Please, Mr. Kochar, you're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I was saying that YK said it also beautifully well, and he's covered all aspects. So congratulations, YK. Uh, the thing that I would like to say is it, it is the consumer's demand and his requirement which dictates whether he requires fiber or copper or only mobile wireless. As rightly put across by YK, the COVID period has shown us that there are so many things in a house which have to converge and then they will consume bandwidth. Bandwidth is one aspect. Bandwidth you can get through Wi-Fi also, you can get through various other aspects. But stability of the network is equally important issue. And that type of stability and assured bandwidth to multiple connections inside a home. Forget about future. Future, when smart things come, it will become even more, you know, it become more dense. But at this point also, every house in a metro will have 10 to 15 connections. Every individual has a mobile phone. We have a cable TV which will switch over to broadband connectivity. We have people studying, people being treated by telemedicine. So those sort of things all have to converge. And therefore, FTTH is now becoming an essential requirement. Only thing is, the economies of placing an FTTH to every home is something that the providers will have to see. That is one. Second thing is, once you have fiber, it can be interchangeably used also for backhaul of networks. You see, the era in which we are entering, 5G, will require huge amount of backhaul, will require fiberization. It will be like having a digital highway with digital arterial roads. Now, those arterial roads can also be used as the highway when the requirement dictates. This is unlike the physical infrastructure where it can't be interchangeably used. But digitally, the fiber can be used for both purposes. And that is where connecting every person onto a digital network with a proper stable connection which gives the required bandwidth is essential. Now, we may not require 100 Mbps, we may require just 10 Mbps at this point of time, but it has to be stable and it has to be assured. That sort of thing can come only through the fiber connectivity. Okay, so that is why fiberization is very important, whether it is in backhaul or it is FTTH. This will also bring convergence of operators. And I'm not talking of telecom operators alone, even MSOs and telcos may converge to provide facilities on a common channel. So that is future, and that is business imperatives which will dictate that. But technically, it is possible, and it will be beneficial to everybody. So these are some of the things that I think I will leave as initial thoughts. and later we will come to various other issues which hinder or help in fiberization in this country. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kochar. So, really very interesting thoughts from your side. So, I'd like to request Mr. Hitesh Chabra to add something to this point.
Yeah, hi, Rusafi.
Hi.
Definitely, I do hear what Mr. Kocher and what Mr. YK has already said, and very rightly put into the perspective. We are a lot of connections increasing, like Mr. YK said that future to the home, right? He has replaced the word fiber, right? And Mr. Kocher also mentioned that there are a lot of changes which we are witnessing, like in terms of each household. The way things are changing, there are 8 to 10 connections, at least 8 or 10 devices in each of the homes these days. Telemedicine, remote classes, and everything is changing. So, we all are actually adapting to it. That's absolutely fine. And we, as like, I represent an OEM, I represent an ICT OEM. So we, as the manufacturers of equipments, also we need to we need to take this head on, and we need to come up with the innovations. We need to come up with the newer plans of newer, I should say, roadmaps, and we will have to quickly roll out things in a way that the I should say 66% owners of Indian wireline, that is the MSOs, they are also looking at such new innovations, such new devices, such new equipment which can actually release the kind of pains which the MSOs might face, right? Like the energy consumption which is there. I mean, that comes under the OPEX. Every MSO would also be looking at the automation. Like no one would want to have to spend so much time towards resolving user complaint, because when we are talking about B2C, right, we are talking about households. Right? Imagine a situation where your child is having a class, all this virtual class, or maybe some telemedicine kind of thing is happening. You're having some kind of consultation or anything, or the way the things have changed, and you are not happy with the network, or there is some break, or there is something, right? So every customer would need some kind of satisfaction, and at that time every MSO or every LCO or whoever is the service provider definitely will look at it in ways where automatically they could locate the problem very fast, and they could be resolving it. Primarily, what I see is there is a change which we are witnessing, like in terms of bandwidth, it's ever increasing, data is ever increasing. That O&M has been a classical problem or a classical area of for every service provider. So there are a lot of innovations which are going on for this, for automation and all. We are also seeing that everything is now becoming experience centric, right? So it's gone are the days when we were talking about those ISDN links, as Mr. YK also said that 256 kb link was also considered to be something, right? And you need to have the IT teams to manage that, right? And getting a 256 kb link from a telco those days were there when feasibility itself took around a month or so. So we all have witnessed and very rightly said, and it's absolutely what we have seen in this pandemic time, that the adoption of technology uh, has definitely gone multifold, and I think that is the only silver line we should be seeing in such time also. And it has definitely, if we have to look at certain benefits, it has definitely helped us also in adoption of technology. So I'm totally with panel. I totally agree with Mr. Kocher, Mr. YK also, and this is what I would want to say.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mr. Hitesh. So, really nice addition to the introduction.
Uh,
So,
uh,
let's
Mr. Hitesh, I think you also have a presentation to present, right? You have slides.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a presentation. So,
So just
shall I continue? Shall I continue? I thought it would be in a different session also.
no, no,
So,
no.
in such situation.
No, no,
I'll
just
just continue with my presentation also.
yeah, and then
I'll
we'll.
take up. Yeah, I'll take up from the point where I was mentioning that being an OEM, we do have to come up with certain innovations as well.
Yeah.
So, with my presentation, I'll be taking you through
My
what
only
as
my only request would be just cut short your presentation if you can present your slides for 10 minutes max to max, so that the panel
of
discussion
course, of course,
will
of
be
course.
very insightful.
Sure, I do understand. I'll take it up in a faster way only.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, please.
So, yeah. So how I see this fixed network, or I should say the wired network. We are talking about the FTTH. So in our we see that we are at the fifth generation. The first generation was the voice era, then web era, or the video era, or lately we have seen the 4K UHD also. But now we are into the fifth generation where we are also seeing a lot of services which have changed. Like we see that around 5 to 7 years back, we were getting into a comfortable or a better life scenario as far as the networks are concerned. Those were the services which were there. Now, currently, we are into the smarter society. We are heading towards the smarter society where we are talking about the smart homes or the safe city projects, or I should say smart manufacturing, online gaming, or telemedicine, or versus. And of course, this event itself, this Congress itself is one of the examples, right? What we are doing right now. We are seeing that latency or the full fiber connections, enhanced fixed broadband bandwidth, everything has actually changed. If we look at the trends which are available, so we have seen that globally 58 countries are there who have a national broadband program, and they have already released the gigabit services. There are more than 200 operators who have launched, and there are 30 plus 10 Gbps packages also which are available. So it clearly shows the way we are heading, the the way the technology is moving. And in last 4 years, India FTTH growth also, if we see in March 2020, we see it's a phenomenal growth where 10 million connected IoT ecosystems are there. We see that the broadband is also shifting from bandwidth centric to experience centric, as I was mentioning. Right now, the bandwidth is going from 10 MB to 100 MB to 1 Gbps wherever the feasibilities are there. But yes, I'm happy to see that a lot of change is actually happening. In the previous session, also I was hearing that India broadband penetration is still low. I do understand, but then still, there is a lot of silver line to that as well, because I can see there are many cities in India now who are offering very good bandwidth plans and very stable plans as well. We see that the latency requirements have been decreasing, and in the home network, we have reached to 7 millisecond as well. In the experience part, I would say a lot of OTT services, including the IPTV services, also have gained a lot of traction, especially in the pandemic time. So we see 4K IPTV. It's phenomenally good, and it's working well right now in many places in India as well. From narrowband to broadband, I would say the broadband era, whatever we have been talking about, it is redefined, and now we are talking about gigaband, right?
Sorry
Broad.
to sorry to disturb, Hitesh. I think you need to share your screen so that everybody can see your slides. There is an option called share screen.
Yeah, I actually did that earlier. I'm sorry, I did not confirm with you.
You have to share your screen.
Is that fine? Anjani, is the screen visible now?
1 second, not now. Just share your screen. Select the entire. Yeah, now.
Okay. So I was mentioning that we are seeing that from narrowband to broadband and now moving towards the gigaband. So there are a lot of operators, as more than 200 plus operators who have already launched the gigabit services, and we have tried here from certain reports to see globally how this spread is. Right. The evolution of access networks and the continuous improvement of the network bandwidth, what we see from voice to web page to broadband to 4K videos, and now, as I mentioned, there are a hell lot of services which we can provide. We are still seeing that every day there is a new service which is coming up and which can be provided, whether it is based on the IoT or it is based on the, I should say, connectivities which are there, from automatic meter reading till, I should say, uh, the smart homes or the connected homes or the connected cars, which is right now into a very nascent stage where the internet cars are there. So there is a big, if we focus here, O&M evolution. Right. This is something which I would say continuous improvement, right, which is being done, and this is where we play a big into the as an equipment provider, right. We have also taken care of the O&M evolution, and we see there is a big leap which has happened in this particular area. If you see the we have come up with the new blue ocean, as we say, everything connected, whether it is to home or to business or to the campus or facility management. And there are this all network is made of simple three components, which is OLT, ODN, and ONT when it comes to the active part. But there are a lot of innovations which have actually happened at this area also. The evolution, if we are talking about some safe city kind of projects, then the upstream rate is more than 200 Mbps. If we look at the VR experience, then we are more sensitive towards the latency, which should be less than 20 milliseconds. If we look at the cloudification of enterprises, then our key concern would be about the reliability, which should be more than 4 nines. If we look at the education part, again the latency and the bandwidth becomes important. So what I'm trying to say is new services, every new service has associated metrics with it, where the requirement for network is very stringent and it is getting more and more stringent. And so the technology is also evolving that way. Uh, if you look at the platforms, here I would want to mention that how we cope up with our innovations or how we cope up with the next generation platforms that we have. We have the OLTs, which can have three scenarios in one, right? The fan sharing or 4-level HQoS or 80 core programmable network processor. So what has happened is devices have also evolved, and now these devices are earlier there was a time when FTTH boxes were only the access boxes or the architecture was different. But now with artificial intelligence inside, they are more like the network. I should say the core network or the core IP network kind of boxes, where they also support the SRv6 or VXLAN or IPsec, those kind of functions which were native to the IP boxes only. However, with the high concurrence and these kind of facilities available in the boxes, I would say next generation OLTs are now available, and next generation OLTs, what they do is they can cover up all the scenarios into one box. So three kind of scenarios, as I mentioned, three networks also into the one, where cloud VR as next IPTV, or maybe the symmetric gigabit line XGS that we are talking about. Copper reframing again. Uh, we have heard a lot in this session also that copper is losing actually the sheen now. So everything is now moving on to fiber, but still, even if there is a native, even if there is a legacy network of copper or coaxial cables, right, we can have a single box which can take up the legacy network as well. And the best part is for three modes also in the single box for I should say multi-pawn rate, which is flex pawn, as we say. In the single flex pawn, in the single box, we can have three modes, which is your G pawn or maybe XG pawn or XGS pawn, along with the, I should say, class B and C SFPs which are available. So single highest capacity or the next generation boxes are available in form of our OLTs. And as I said, the distributed architecture with the SDN orientation, right? This is the future to go, wherein the single box, without having the need to change the box, that calls for the investment protection for everyone or every MSO, wherein the total cost of ownership reduces drastically. Where a single box today, if you are going on GPON and tomorrow you realize, okay, XGPON is required, and for certain scenarios XGS is required, and then the box also is doing the is into the planning for the 50G PON, where we have actually 50G PON evolution ready box we have already prepared, and based on single wavelength, there is a prototype also which is already under test. So this is about the flex PON, which I was saying, for the investment protection and the, I should say, total cost of ownership reduction. We have tried to summarize as to how much cost is saved or reduced. If you see a single box, just by changing the cards or just by changing the SFPs, if you can go to different bandwidths or different flavors of the PON, then the total cost of ownership is reduced by 25%. That's something which MSOs would be looking at, right? And with the ONT parts also, I would say for the home ONTs, we are also promoting this Wi-Fi 6 as we chair the Wi-Fi 6 forum as well. I was also talking about the total cost of ownership in terms of the OPEX part. A lot of money from MSOs actually goes for the maintaining the networks or keeping the network up. That's the power cost. So it also calls for the reduction of carbon footprint also, and I think every OEM should be looking for this. However, we are leading the table here with 10G PON service port power consumption. If the industry average is 8.6 watts, then our boxes would be going for 6 watts. So that is again 30% of energy saving. And that we do with the different kind of algorithms which are there for 4-level power control mode in the equipment. There is standard mode, basic mode, deep mode, and the optimal mode. In the interest of time, I would not go for the details on into this, but yes, definitely, I would say it's a very major factor, and we would say being green is also a global responsibility of each of us. So we are working towards that as well. If we talk about the ONTs, then 10G PON ONTs with Wi-Fi 6. These are the boxes. These are the small, I should say, powerhouses which should be there for each of the homes who are having the 8 or 10 connections. Right? We all were talking about so many mobile devices and so many, I should say, connectivities in single home. So for that, what we need is the pipe, which is the 10G pipe, which is available in the XGPON part for us. And then Wi-Fi 6 also, which can provide the ultimate experience to the users, where the 6 Gbps kind of bandwidth inside, that is the air interface rate is available. So that's 4 times the throughput of Wi-Fi 6. Again, the experience can be preserved and experience can be enhanced as for the automation and the I should say the time required for resolving any issues or resolving any complaints or to protect the MSOs from churn. Right? There has to be a brain also into the network, where that heart or brain of the network should be looking at the network from a bird view, as well as it should be touching the network. So the management platform which we have, it's called iMaster NC. In this platform, we have a different modes wherein most problems that occur inside the home networks is towards the Wi-Fi getting disconnected or some kind of disconnections, or maybe in any of the path, locating the problem becomes sometimes an issue. But with this marvelous piece of I should say software, we do have a lot of reach towards remotely repairing also and diagnosing also the problems, and it can really turn around the things for any of the MSOs for any given problem. If there was a time which was required to resolve, if PTR was around 3 hours or 4 hours kind of time, then it goes down to 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So it's a big leap forward towards the automation of the OEM as well as creating the intelligent access network. Whether it is zero touch deployment or it is zero touch provisioning for ONT or simply API OSS integration, wherein different billing and I should say the other softwares which have to be integrated for the end-to-end service. So APIs should be available. So there is an orchestrator also in the software which we have. At the bottom, we have seen we have taken three cases of operator S that we say operator S and D. What were the results that we have seen? The involved engineers were reduced from 3 to 1. The site visit time was reduced from 2 to 1, and provisioning cost it reduced from reduced by 25%. Similarly, self-service provisioning and automated roaming improved the efficiency by 30%. And of course, the migration scenario using the APIs, the interfaces reduced and the time to market reduces by 4 months. So that is all about the business aspect, I should say, the business improvement that can happen. If you look at the innovative technologies that we have in the single fan pro thing, the first part is FlexPon that I have been again and again urging for. And if we look at the second thing is about the world's first XGS PON, I should say home gateway that we have along with Wi-Fi 6 for premium user experience. The quick ODN solution that we have, it simplifies the fiber deployment. So end-to-end splicing free, or I should say uneven splicing things can be done. So the key takeaways I would say is speed, elegance, manageability, stability, money saving, and future proof. So all what we have discussed is we have to, as the ICT service providers, as the ICT manufacturers, we have a responsibility to come up with the innovations like I have shown in this particular slide. Although the time was less, so I had to rush off. But still, I hope I'm able to convey the message, or I should say I'm able to convey the offerings that we have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Hitesh. So it was nice presentation. So I think I I just wanted to continue our last discussion to brought towards Rajesh Pathak. If you can add something, if you want to add something to our previous discussion, you may.
Yeah, yeah. I think I would echo what Dr. Kocher and Yugal Kishore mentioned out. But today's scenario, what I see is from FTTH point of view, Indian wide broadband market is projected to grow more around from a 200 million uh, in the current year to 243 million by 2024. So I think the currently penetration of the wide broadband in the country is very low. There is a lot of fiberization which still requires, and I think during the COVID times, all the providers have really played a pivotal role because all the services which has offered, and it shows the resiliency of the network that it was able to cater. But in a current scenario, what I presently see that a fiber to home still has to reach out if you compare from the other countries in the APAC or the European or American market. We are currently the 3 million in the FTTH out of the 19 million in the market across. So I think a lot of stuff has to be done on that side. I think currently in the increase application of ICT services, low transaction costs, and increasing connectivity are further expected to drive the market. And then a very important thing is out how government of India also helped out from laying out the fiber. Currently, the fiberization, if you compare with other markets like China and other, The Chinese market has the infrastructure players who give the services to a lot of the service providers. And I think with a 5G rollout, it's very, very important to have, and there our FTTH network is really going to play a very important role because of the backhaul, as earlier mentioned by Yugal, and also that it's that end-to-end connectivity is very important from an FTTH point of view. We currently, with the 5G rolling out, our access networks needs an augmentation. We are currently on a GPON, and we need to go and upgrades on the 10G PON or the XG PONs, or in some of the country 10G PONs are there, and they're probably looking out for the 40G PONs. So I think there is a huge work to be done. It's a Herculean task to be done in next 4 5 years. And there is a good convergence which I will see with the 5G and the FTTH. It is important that the role of the fiber-based network holds a significance, since with the 5G coming out, there is the scope of the 5G would be like a 400 500 kind of a meters. So it's a 4x of the towers required as compared to the 4Gs of the world. And that really adds lot of infrastructure costs onto the providers today, primarily because they only not have to go and put the infrastructure there, but also on the fiber. So I think it is good in a coming model if there is a convergence. There is an infrastructure place who comes out, and we see that the 5G networks and the FTTH network grows. If you compare with the mobile broadband to a wide broadband, we have seen that there are issues still, even you are on the very high speed mobile broadband network, but to every nook and corners of the house, your wide broadband really works out because of the applications which are running now. OTT players are coming. There are a lot of video applications are started. And as mentioned by Dr. Kocher, that each home will have 10 to 12 connections now. Eventually this is the future. India has to really catch up on that. And I think our subscriber base during the COVID time has increased. And I think by 2025, the subscribers will definitely grow, 50% of that. And I think that is something we really look out.
Okay, great. Very insightful thoughts from your side. So I think Rajneesh Garg has joined. Can you hear me, Rajneesh? Okay, I'm not sure whether he's joined or not, but I can see him. Okay, we will reach him later on. So, but before that, just I'd like to
Yeah,
request
yes,
all the
I'm there. Am I audible?
attendees. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. Yes.
thank you for joining. So, we were discussing the prospects about the FTTH services in India, and what we can see in near future, and what actually best possible way forward in terms of providing seamless services to the end customer. So we have covered all the speakers so far. So if you'd like to add a little bit point, you are most welcome.
Yeah,
Rajnish,
yeah.
please.
Sorry. So, yeah, Anand. So, I think let me just brief upon something like that. Why this FTTH? This is going to be a key driver when we are moving to the 5G transport now, because you see the 5G, the critical aspects of the key 5G drivers are this: the massive machine-to-machine connectivity, then the low latency, and the high capacity.
Yeah.
These are the three key drivers. And when you go for this FTTH solutions, you are able to get actually all the things driven through the mobile, this transport network. You're able to get a high capacity in the last edge of the network. So it will be a good supporting factor which will help the operators to drive both mobile transport as well as the this 5G, the new use cases which are driven primarily from the enterprise networks also as well, to leverage on the edge network from the last fiber pops. So like wherever you have the fiber pops, you can expand your network by doing just a little bit of last mile and connect to the various buildings and then start using this FTTH advantages. So this is going to be the key driver, I think, when we are going for this 5G networks, because most of your bandwidth requirements will be concentrated in a very small geographies as well. So you need to have the high capacity demands based on the high penetration that is required in the networks. So I think that's going to be the key driver in that. Yes, Alam.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Rajni, for joining on board. So, to all the audience, if you have any discussion or any question or during any discussion point, you may ask that in the question section. You may type that, and we will discuss that in the conclusion part. Maybe we will take some of the questions later on. So,
Rusafi, just to
yeah,
interrupt
please.
you, can you go for one question to Sanjeev also from on TT Broadband? Then we will have the audience question, or maybe you can run the panel discussion again with few important questions.
Okay, so Sanjeev, right?
Yeah,
From
Yeah, hi. This
One.
is Sanjeev Agarwal. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, please, if you want to
I
add,
just wanted to add here because consumers have started realizing the benefits of a high-speed internet connection. Their hunger for data is ever growing. Okay, and as rightly coined by Mr. YKS, FTTH is rightly coined as future to the home. So my only request is, we all need to get together, form an ecosystem, and ensure that the demand is fulfilled by the consumer. Thanks.
yeah, great. Very precise comments on the total discussion. So, thank you for your insight. So I will move to some other discussions right now. Maybe we will focus on 5G sometimes later. But before that, I'd like to ask a general question again to the floor. That how far are telcos such as Geo versus Airtel, for example, in their FTTH/FTTX journey? What are your opinions, my colleagues? Please, if you want to answer the question.
Safi, I think this question doesn't relevant because we don't have any spokesperson from Geo and Airtel in this panel.
Okay, so okay,
Maybe
okay,
you can ask some few question to Rajneesh, who is representing Vodafone Idea. He might have something to talk about on Vodafone FTTH.
Yeah. So Anjani, I was just going to speak on that. So maybe though you have not asked me, but I can still tell you that what is the
no, that
operator's
was that
pain
was
problem
that
here,
was
right?
to, that was to the floor. Anyone can pick the question and answer. Not a problem.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So basically, Alam, the point is that the operator problems remains the same when we go for this FTTH kind of a deployment, because you see primarily it's not about only deploying the equipment here. It is about the fiber that is to be deployed, that to the edge points when we talk of the fiber to the home kind of situations, or fiber to the offices or any to the buildings. So the challenge is that the infrastructure, the number one point is that the government has to support on the ROW front and on the last edge of the devices. When we see that there is the fiber deployment happens very quickly, and the permissions, ROW permissions, they get very quickly, and the charges are less. Because of, let's say, if you see this pandemic, this is what we have been taught by this pandemic, that how to work in a closed environment, sitting at home or so. So I'm sure that all these enterprise operators who have been there, so like Bharti, Jio, Vodafone Idea, or TCL, or all the other operators as well, the other ISPs. There have been a lot of momentum that has been gained up in this whole calendar year of 2020 due to this COVID situation here. So I think understanding this situation, then the things can more be penetrated, and this will further boost up the morale of all the operators as well. That's it.
Okay. Great. Thank you for your input in this question. So I think let's move to some part of 5G. My We will discuss one by one. Maybe anyone can take up the question and answer. My question would be like how the 5G deployment will take shape in India in terms of coverage in the coming 5 years, and how FTTH will play a pivotal role in the deployment. What do you think, to all the speakers here,
Yeah.
please?
So let me take this question. I think, as I mentioned earlier, also, and 5G is very much dependent on the fiberization because the backhaul requirement will be too much, and you can't do it on a traditional microwave. So I think the most of the service providers are focused on the fiber, and the reason why we are able to carry a lot of traffic, which I mentioned that without any glitch on the COVID lockdowns, when the traffic was 20 to 30% hit increase in a one day, and there was without a plan. So I think that was the phenomenal job done by the operators in India. The very important thing that why we need to put the fiber to connect the more towers, especially when we all need them to a backhaul 5G. So I think the FTTH is plays a pivotal role. The reason because of because of the fiber is already laid down by for the FTTH, the same could be utilized rather than separately doing out. And in the infrastructure where when we use an FTTH, we use kind of a linear topology. But when we are kind of doing any backhauling, putting a SEN, or we kind of do the ring, so probably we use the business ONTs when you come on from a terminology perspective. I think another area would also be where most of the operators today thinks like it's not only would be the FTTH, but also with the backhaul technologies like a E band or a V band to backhaul, that to be also the nearest fiber hub, because you can't fiberize the 100% towers, right? Sometimes fibers get cut. You all need an alternate method. I think that will be a good combination of a microwave or a wireless backhaul and the fiber. So I think there's a good roadmap for next 3 years, because of the fiberization might take a little long. And I think I've seen, and Dr. Kochar is already there, that there have been the requests gone to the government for the incentive programs and how we do it up. So I think that will take typically a longer time, but that's a need of an hour. And I think very important that for working for a well home broadband subscribers, the cable operator also has also put a cable or fiber inside. So I think it probably would be partnering for doing the further the penetration on the fiber. And then I think very important thing which I also feel like, and which is the automation. Automation is the need of an hour. How you can actually by various artificial intelligence and ML. I think this all will really make a good journey, and I see that next 5 years is is having a good potential for India. But again, at the same time, it's got a Herculean task.
Okay. Yeah, really, very realistic view on this. So I'd request Dr. Kochar to add something to this question, please, if you
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. See, what he has brought out is very relevant. One is the technology part, and second is the cost effectiveness. So the technology is ready. Fiberization is a given. Without fiberization, we cannot introduce 5G, and even the present services cannot improve without fiberization. The question is about making the wherewithal available. And what has been said is that the cost of fiberization is too high in India. And unfortunately, it is not similar across the length and breadth of the country. The central government has given some guidelines for ROW which are not being implemented by the state governments, by the local bodies. There is a huge difference between what is recommended by the central government and what actually is being charged on ground by different authorities. So that has to be normalized, and there has to be a process where the 10,000 rupees per kilometer ROW, which has been mandated by the central government, is effectively charged by the others and not charged arbitrarily as high as 1 crore per kilometer. So that nobody will be able to do fiberization in that aspect. Second is backhauling in manner which is uh, something like, if I may say, fiber in the air, and that is E and V bands. The fiber cannot reach or may not be required in all locations. India's geography is such that fiberization in many areas is not possible, and their E and V bands can provide the same capacity, and that is what we have requested the government, that these bands should be used for backhaul, and it should be auctioned to the various people who want to use these bands. So that is a decision we are still awaiting. The reason for that is that 5G, you mentioned, 5G will come in a differential manner in India. What requirement is there in the urban area may not be required in the rural area. So there will be different versions of 5G which will have to be rolled out in India and at different points of time. In densified areas where industrialization is dense, 5G as small cells will come, which will be in higher bands where the capacity is more, reach is less. But in rural areas, the capacity requirement will be lesser. Reach is more important. So we will have to use different frequency bands which are in the lower realm. So these are the aspects in which 5G will roll out. But even with all this, I will re-emphasize that fiberization is a must. And government has to make efforts, go out of the way to see that this fiberized foundation is strong and stable. And that is the only way Industry 4.0 will draw benefits out of this infrastructure, these fiberized networks. So this is exactly what we have been asking the government, and all operators are unanimous in this, that the ROW charges must be rationalized, fiberization must not be impeded, and there should be single window clearances, effective clearances. E and V bands should be auctioned so that we can start rolling out and we can start planning our networks. I think I will stop at that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kochar. So, very interesting thoughts. Uh, I think I'd like to move to operator now, to Rajneesh again, to add to this question a bit about that. What will be your planning for going in the coming 5 years regarding the 5G, and what would be your fiberization priority also in the coming days, if you would like to add here.
Yeah. Basically, Alam, so as we know that yes, the 5G is primarily will be driven by the high capacity radio sites. Like we move from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G now, and in every G there is a 1G addition, and the capacity addition is 10 times. So this is all happening in the last 3G to 4G also, and now 4G to 5G also. When 4G was 100 Mbps, so 5G is coming to be 1 Gbps or even 10 Gbps now. So and this is what it is keep on happening. So it's only a 1G addition, but in the transport it's going to be 10G addition, 10 times addition that is there. So to meet this, actually the role of fiber is going to be the huge, and as rightly mentioned that the fiberization in the last edge, that is going to be the challenge for everybody, because keeping a lakhs of because of the vast geography of the country like India, so it's very difficult to lay down the fiber to each and every home. So though it will be a challenge, but yes, the if you want to really scale up the 5G networks like we are now, let's say, experiencing the 4G, in the next 5 years time frame, you have to do a penetration of close to 50-60% of your fiber pops at least should be fiberized. Your sites of 50% site should be fiberized, so that you can at least every alternative site is fiberized, and then you can ensure a good coverage to meet the 5G customer demands, and as well as that will help us in providing the huge capacity demands that is generated by this. So this is going to happen. So the currently the pop penetration, if you see compared to the sites, is close to 20% or so, 20-25%, 30% in this range. It has to go past the beyond 50% range. That's what should be the target for all the operators. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to request Sanjeev Kumar to add here a bit about our last question.
Yeah, so as said by Dr. Kochar as well as Rajesh, I mean, you will have to look at upgrading wherever you don't have fiber. You will have to look at upgrading and ensuring that the last mile up to of fiber is delivered to each and every house. I mean, that's the only way to fulfill the needs of the consumers.
Okay, great. So now it's Hitesh Shabra's turn to comment on this point. Please welcome Hitesh.
Yeah, so as rightly mentioned, and because we all have been here day in day out looking at all this, so I think every point has been covered. The points which Mr. Kochar has also mentioned about the demands which all the operators have unanimously kept to the government, and the RO things, ROW issues. So nevertheless, because I totally agree to this, and I will have to be talking about the technology part, and how this fiberization and the other parts are there, because there can be certain things which are regulatory, there can be certain things which are probably, I should say, the priorities change, right? For an operator, the priority would be something different. For a technology provider, it would be different. From my side, I would say we are there to support everyone for the fifth generation, I should say, the fixed networks which are there, and there can be a lot of, I should say, innovations which are available towards this. And regarding the, I should say, because someday, right now, down the line, I can see that someday there would be a 5G also would be a reality, and there would be trials also which would be starting soon, and that is definitely a time when this FTTH network would be playing a very big role, wherein I see a lot of offloading would be happening, and I should say it will happen both ways, because these access networks or the home networks also would be pumping out a lot of data which can be used and transferred using 5G towards the, I should say, the clouds, which can make sense out of that data, and a lot of smart and connected things would definitely happen. So, all in all, I would say that we are on a right track and seen a lot of things. And with COAI, definitely working towards the benefit of all the operators, and as an association moving ahead, I see a lot of traction, and I see a lot of things improving very soon. That's it.
Okay, so just I want to ask a bit more to you, specifically to you, Mr. Hitesh, that
Mhm.
what are the advancements and challenges for FTTH in the 5G era, do you think? And in India, as we saw that FTTH homes pass and penetration is still very low,
Hmm.
what should be
Hmm.
done to overcome the challenge?
Okay. 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 So now this seems to be a question related to the technology. So that would be a bit better for me to answer because you're talking about the 5G, I should say fifth generation, or I should say the advancements which have happened in the FTTH network. So see, FTTH actually, if we see, it has taken the leaps quite fast, and we have on this network itself, we have seen times when it was about POTS and then ADSL, and then it came up to GPON, and now it's 10 GPON, and as I said, 50 GPON is also under the prototype is ready and it's under test. We see that the basic network was a requirement, and then better network was a requirement, and now the smarter society is the place where we are moving in, right? A lot of adoptions which have happened, right? In terms of, I should say, whether it is cloudification or whether it is VR, which is coming, a lot of applications which are there, smart manufacturing and all. So those are there. So, what advancements have happened? I would say from bandwidth-centric mentality or bandwidth-centric networks, we are now only focusing on the experience-centric, right? So, high bandwidth or low latency, or I should say, the high reliability. These are the 3 points which are inherited now in almost all the networks, and everyone is looking for that only. So, these are the advancements, right? If I have to talk about the advancements, then the I should say investment protection things like the flex pawn, the same box using all kind of flavors of pawn without having the need for changing the I should say changing the box, and reducing the TCOs for the service providers. That is where we are moving. And um, if we talk about the advancement, I would definitely I would be talking about the greener designs which are there now. The power consumption for the devices have been reduced as compared to earlier times, right? I attribute it more towards the reducing size of chipsets and all, wherein the power consumption is also reducing. Yes, there is still a scope, and I think everyone should be working towards reducing those CO2 emissions towards this. If we have to talk about the challenges, as you mentioned, what challenges that are being faced or that were being faced, so I would say O&M and rollouts, these are the classical challenges which lead to most of the churn part, right? Today, at least we have gone that far that feasibility probably is not a big concern for, I should say, many of the operators, because the tie-ups are there, and the operators are closely knit as well, I would say. When I say operators, I'm talking about the ISPs, or that includes the MSOs, right? So they are LCOs and MSOs. They are closely linked. I can see a lot of say handshake and a lot of leveraging of each other's strength, which is happening in terms of models, and it happens. O&M, automation, and the time to resolve, these are the things which are more towards the churn of the customers, which is the biggest headache. So I would say this is a big challenge, and unless everyone goes for a smarter, I should say, management platform, and I should say the turnaround time for any resolution has to be ever reducing, because customer demands are, of course, with the advent of so many I should say applications which are very sensitive towards the experience. So every customer demand is also quite high right now. I would say the these are the challenges as well as the advancements which have happened. And regarding there is one more question that you have asked, that was about the lower penetration which is there. So I would say that the lower penetration, it's already there is a push from the government as well. If we see a lot of states going for the state fiber network projects, right? Whether it is the, I should say, BharatNet project, which the government had launched for getting the fiber towards each of the GPs, and getting the network connectivity towards each of the gram panchayats in India. So, although because of several reasons, it has been successful in many places, it has not been that successful at many places. But then, I would say it's all on track. It's all going ahead. It's all going ahead. Somewhere, if the speed has been lower, I would say the execution speed has been lower. I'm very hopeful that it will be covering. So, in my view, I would say once these kind of programs which are there, if these are executed well, then the penetration problems would definitely reduce a lot. That is what I would say.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. That was really nice from your
So,
side. So, my
Musafi,
next question would be, yeah, Anjani, please.
I think we have talked about a lot of this FTTH scenario and challenges with all the speakers. They have given their inputs. Now, I would like to request you, Rusafi, to share some thoughts in terms of, in view of FTTH preparation in Bangladesh. What are the challenges in your country, and how soon you see FTTH in Bangladesh for the end consumers?
Okay, great. So thank you, Anjani, for your question. So basically, this will be my personal opinion to the Bangladesh scenario, but I will add a bit about the whole APAC region scenario as well. So
Sure.
firstly, regarding Bangladesh, the fiberization it's in very good shape, I'd say, because government has taken very quick initiative to cover all the entire of the country with the fiber, and two to three organizations. One of the speakers were in the previous sessions as well from Summit Group. So they are one of the network operator in Bangladesh who are maintaining one part of the government network, and another one is there as well, fiber at home. They are jointly managing and deploying and managing the network in Bangladesh. These are like the last mile networks, but they rent the networks to the operators, and to some in some parts they also rent their networks to the operator, MNOs as well. So I'd say if the market is still very segregated, it's not very organized right now, but government is really trying hard, and there are some organizations like ISP Association Bangladesh and some other associations who are really working hard to push the FTTH and fiberization to the next level, so that the 5G, when actually launched, maybe in 2022 or 2023, uh, that is launched in a good way. So our Prime Minister advisor for ICT, he he has directed all the ministries and other associations also to come forward and work on it for to launch the 5G within 2022 or 2023. So I think in terms of Bangladesh, it's really going good. Uh, but I as I saw some of the other countries outside Bangladesh, like if I say the developing nations in APAC, the developed nations is way forward for deploying the networks, like Japan, South Korea, Australia, and some other parts in APAC. They are really way forward for deploying the 5G because they are completely fiberized, and they do not lack anything to take quick action. But some developing nations in the APAC, I have seen last year that some of them's comment was like 5G at this moment is not really a very priority to them. It is definitely a necessity, but maybe in the coming 5 to 10 years path, but not that it will be taken as a priority in the 2 3 years or 2 to 4 years at least, because it needs a huge amount of investment, which maybe will be a difficult situation for them to organize, because in many of the APAC countries, we still see that they are not covered with LTE or 4G yet. So I can take a good example here of Cambodia. Last year we were in Cambodia for an event, and we met their regulator and other operators. So they were really skeptical about the deployment very too quick. So in this context, I can comment that in some markets that 5G will be a really kind of not so burning hot topic at the right context, but it is in the plan. Maybe 2 to 3 years later, they will start deploying. So this is I can add here regarding the 5G and fiber situation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rusafi. It was good to hear your development in Bangladesh regarding FTTH, 5G, and hopefully in Bangladesh we will see 5G services to be launched in, as you mentioned, 2022, 2023. So
Yeah.
I think if anybody have something to add, they are open to add. Otherwise, we will need to conclude this session because we are already running 30 minutes behind the session time.
Yes. Sure. Please.
Hitesh, Doctor, anything you want to add? Something?
Thank you. We've already said what we had to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So with this, I think it's time to conclude this virtual conference on FTTH. Rusafi, we did this physical event last to last year, if you remember, and you were going to be part of this conference as speaker, and there are some senior fraternity from FTA Council also participated, but because of this COVID-19 pandemic, we are working virtually, and we all hope for the best that this pandemic gets over as soon as possible, so that we all can meet physically and have face-to-face discussion and talk about the next step forward in regard to the FTTH services. So, on behalf of NextGen Conferences, it's great pleasure to thank each one of you, and I would also like to thank the sponsors, principal sponsor Huawei, gold sponsor GX Group, gold sponsor STL, and FTT Council Asia Pacific. I think without their support, this event could not have been possible, and that's it. I think we will definitely finger crossed that we will meet physically on this platform talk more about this future development. So thank you so much, Rusafi. Thank you so much, Ritesh. Pujar sir,
Thank you. Thank you.
Rajesh ji,
Thanks.
Rajiv, and Rajesh sir. Thank you so much for joining us uh, late.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Anil.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank
It was
you.
a
Thanks,
pleasure
Anthony.
being here.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.